turn your mics on. Okay, it is now 6 p.m. We're going to call meeting to order. Take a roll call. Appears everyone is present. Okay. Let's see. Approval or additions to the agenda. So in order to try to accommodate quite a full room here, there's been a couple amendments to the agenda. So on the most currently amended agenda, we're going to move E and F. And so what that's going to do is give us the ability to have our advisory committee reports to go ahead and present their reports first. And then after that, we'll take an open public comment. So hopefully that should alleviate a little bit of the space in the room after that. Okay, moving to the approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So first, public participation. We do have a few presenters. And of course, we'll ask all the presenters to be as succinct as possible given our full agenda today. Our first participation item is Don Loving. I think you're back there. If everyone can give him a little bit of space so he can come up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will be brief. My name is Don Loving. I'm a patron of the district. Most people know I served on this board for 32 years. Probably the worst hour of those 32 years was the March meeting, when a person, went on for the better part of an hour, accusing me of all sorts of things, this and that. At one point, he even asked the board to remove me from the board, even though the board had no authority to do that. And I do apologize. I would like to come sooner to do this, but this is the first meeting since that I've been in the state when we've met. And so he did that, as it turned out, knowing full well that he had already filed a formal complaint with the Oregon Government Ethics Commission. For those who don't know, and I didn't know at the time, the Ethics Commission, when they get a complaint, they do a preliminary investigation. If they find anything worth investigating, then they go ahead and do a full investigation. If they do a full investigation, that doesn't mean the person's guilty, it just means they're doing a full investigation. So I appeared before the Ethics Commission on July the 14th, made a presentation, answered questions, and the charges were, without any further ado, dismissed. I have a letter stating that fact from the Ethics Commission. Because the allegations were made in the public in front of this board, and that's the last that was ever heard of them, I feel that it's important that this letter be part of the public record. I'm going to give it to Cass.
Okay.
That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Brian Bowman.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, board, for the time. I know there are a couple slides that go along with it. I see you guys have that in your packet or in the in front of you, and to see that you got the letter from the Chehalis Valley Chamber of Commerce in support of mountain biking at Riley Park. A nice letter from the chamber talking about how outdoor recreation is, great for quality of life, and it's important for the employers in the community to be able to retain and recruit talent, for them and their families, and the ability to draw potential patrons into the community. And Jim, I want to thank you for coming out and observing one of the practices. It means a lot to know that some of the decision makers have firsthand knowledge of the goings on that we've heard so much about. I'll jump into my content. So you guys have some slides that outline how CPRD is upholding Crystal's wishes. I'll read a couple quotes from that first slide. This is from Mary Dugan. This decision to give the land to CPRD was made by the foundation as a positive answer to the best future interests of the community, following the wishes of Crystal Riley to benefit people and allow them to enjoy the land she'd acquired, said Mary Dugan, Vice President of the foundation. Crystal wanted people to enjoy the land and the beauty of the nature there, and was adamantly against any future residential or business development on the property, so she would be very pleased to have it at park. The screenshot is a capture of the Crystal Dawn Smith Riley Foundation website. It has a quote from Crystal on there. I want to read an excerpt of that. My goal is to provide everybody access to the turn-of-the-century farm, as well as protect these 400 acres from encroaching urban development. I've done a lot of research. It's been an interesting few weeks, months, as I've been involved in the park. And, as I read the priorities, Crystal wanted people to visit the farm. People need to visit to experience the history, to experience the agriculture, to experience the nature. I don't get any sense that Crystal cared if they were on foot, on horse, or on bike. You've got to get people out, It's just a mode to get people out there for the experience that seemed important to her. In a lot of this reading too, in both these quotes, Crystal and Mary talk about community. It was interesting, again, looking through the history, how, Crystal certainly had a big community around her. Big personality, it seemed like. Interesting to see how much she was tied to the Sherwood and Lad Hill side of the mountain, the east side of the mountain, as much as the west side of the mountain. We've had some discussions about who has more of a right to be using the park, the Sherwood folks, the Newburgh folks, so on and so forth. And understanding a little bit more about Crystal's community, it kind of makes those conversations seem a little bit petty at times. Sadly, Crystal passed in 2006. After Crystal's death, things changed at the park. In June of 2007, the executive director of the Crystal Dawn Smith Riley Foundation registered with the Oregon Secretary of State the Parrot Mountain Horse Park. After Crystal's death, riding at the park became pay-to-play. Crystal's niece had reflected, this letter was written or read, and it's in the packet, how much she enjoyed riding trails that her Uncle Bob had made for her and the neighbors. When I served CPRD on the Bob and Crystal Riley Advisory Committee, we heard the refrain from a handful of neighbors about their frustration that when the equestrian park went exclusive, they were expected to pay for something that had been open and free in the past. Tracking the chronology, in 2008, the first full year of operation of the equestrian park, they spent double their budget, had big plans for 2009, talk about fundraiser. But in 2009, the executive director of the foundation was arrested on 7 counts of forgery and aggravated theft. This led to the dissolution of the foundation, and the exclusive equestrian park. But to the credit of the remaining directors on the equestrian park, they sought CPRD for help, right? They came to CPRD to help them out of a tight spot. In 2012, they sought CPRD to uphold Crystal's wishes of keeping the property in the public domain and making it accessible to everybody. CPRD, recognizing a good deal, made it work out with the help of their taxpayers, and took the torch of preserving the land from the foundation. CPRD in this transaction was very clear that, right, as a taxpayer-funded entity, management of the park would change versus when it was a private foundation. So there's another slide in there that is supposed to be a Venn diagram. It's not a very good Venn diagram because it outlines the similarities and differences between riders at the park, right? So both equestrian riders and cyclists have so much in common, right? The only difference is the mode that they use the trail, right? People might be out there to challenge themselves, to learn and practice skills, connect with nature, relax, reduce stress, might be seeking physical activity, time with friends. They might identify as an equestrian or a cyclist. It's part of their identity. They might be out there to improve their state of mind. Last month we heard from a veteran, I think I saw him here this week. Yes. So, you know, it was great to hear what equestrian riding brought to that gentleman, and we thank him for his service. There are many cycling groups that have that exact same format of program. Again, the groups are so similar that it's kind of funny. Equestrians and cyclists also have so many subcategories underneath them that it's too much to get into, right? There are interests within those groups, right, that are seeking thrills. I have to imagine that team calf roping is pretty thrilling. 100-mile endurance rides are pretty thrilling. And some of those disciplines are just for show, right? And at Riley Park, people are riding trails to unwind. Principally, everyone up there is a trail user, and it would be nice if all of us trail users could work together. So the last slide talks about serving the district. In prior meetings, we've heard about the numbers of trails that are available locally. The fact of the matter is there aren't any trails available locally. Riley Park is a oasis and trail desert. You know, another common thread between equestrians and cyclists, people are looking for an option that's close to home, that you don't have to drive hours to go use the trail, you know, something where you could work out a trail right after work. Today, equestrians have one option in CPRD. It's the west side of Parrot Mountain, or Riley Park, 210 acres. And mountain bikers have one option, the east side, 110 acres at Riley Park, right? It's separated by a fence, a paved road, and another fence. Next year will be a decade since CPRD has had the property and restored Crystal's wishes to have everyone access the property and protect it from development. Usage is growing. I think we're clearly seeing some growing pains. Formal signage is less than a year old. There's a master plan in the process, right, that provides methods for public feedback. Right, other folks have been through these growing pains, and I'm sure if we let the process play out, we can get through it too. There's no need to change course on Riley Park. As a public park district, reducing the diversity of the services and excluding one group for the benefit of another is bad business. Eliminating 100% of one group's services to increase another's by 50% doesn't make sense. We don't need to reinstate a failed attempt at an exclusive equestrian park. CPRD is a special district, has an obligation to the public. They've made the park public. We should keep the park public and keep mountain biking at the park. Continue the master planning process and work to make the park a better place. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda is Mike Kringlin. If everyone can make some space for him so he can come up this way, that'd be great.
Actually, this is perfect.
Oh, that's perfect. Hello.
Good evening. I believe earlier, as part of your package, you got the, first of all, I'm Mike Kringlin, president of the local Newburgh Pickleball Club, on the advisory committee for the Columbia River Pickleball Club. We have 1,500 plus members, and on the advisory committee to as part of the packet, we provided a USA Pickleball Facility Development Questionnaire, and I think you have that. And the response is a sample response of what we would like to see answering the questions outlined in the questionnaire. First, we want to thank you for the commitment you've made for pickleball in Newburgh, and we're excited to see what the future holds. Now, we understand there are several options open to the staff, and proceeding with the feasibility study that the board approved last month is a great start. So we look forward to seeing what kind of facility makes sense for Newburgh. The weather we've witnessed in the last week is pretty indicative of a lot of people can't play for much of the year because of the weather. So we'd obviously like to see a covered lit facility. Now, in the future, as a designated advisory group to the Park District, our commitment as the advisory group is to serve, collaborate, and be a resource, and in whatever capacity is needed. And we want to partner with you and be part of the success that as you determine what direction we should go. Now, we have several contacts within the pickleball community that would happily share with the board and staff. Our vision would be to use industry specific specialists to perform the feasibility study and utilize some vendors by USA Pickleball. The advisory committee would hope that the staff would spend time speaking with people like Carl Schmitz from USA Pickleball, who is the managing director of equipment standards and facility development. They provide many services, including a facility development component, which helps municipalities or individual owners analyze market demand and overall feasibility. One of the things Mr. Schmitz has done, they're located in Phoenix, is studying the impact of noise, since that's a problem in some communities like Lake Oswego, Oregon. So he's been in the area, he's familiar with many of the communities, and I just learned the other day that USA Pickleball developed what they call a quiet category. It's a noise mitigation for equipment. The paddles, the balls, and they got noise mitigation screens. So when they measured the reduction in the noise, it was approximately 50% less noise. And of course, if you're close to housing, that's an issue. Well, we're anticipating this one would not be close to housing, but that's just one of the elements of working with USA Pickleball. So the advisory committee would like to ask that the consulting company would have vendor status with USA Pickleball. I spoke with Carl Schmitz, I've emailed with him, and he offered a 30-minute phone conversation with the Park District and the various stakeholders that want to participate at no charge. And it would be my privilege to introduce you if that's something you're interested in. We also have various members of the Pickleball Club and the community in the metro area who have traveled throughout the country participating in various tournaments. They'd be willing to share what they've learned, and we're fortunate to have some pros in the area that have their residence. Please don't hesitate to ask for additional information that can help CPRD as a whole. A main point is we look forward to a more productive and positive relationship with the Park District. Please contact me now or later if any questions. Without requesting it, Carl Schmitz offered to send me a sample of a feasibility study which includes the scope of services and details of what is included in a feasibility study. And he asked that I don't make copies, otherwise I'd have made copies and handed them out today. But if anyone is interested, I'll be glad to meet with them and let them look at it, because it's great detail, and I think they're an ideal source for moving forward with a feasibility study. I thank you for your time, and if you have any questions now or later, you know how to reach me, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Is this your official pickleball committee report as well, or do you guys have a separate?
No, I'm representing the pickleball committee.
Okay.
I was just trying to give you a little background for people wondering,
Okay.
what do I know about pickleball, right?
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Can I make a suggestion before we continue, just to reconfigure the people standing and sitting, and perhaps I think there's some older people standing, and maybe if anyone's willing to give up their seat, and there's people that are signed up to speak that can't get in.
Right, we're gonna go ahead and move through the agenda and try to get the committee reports. And then once the committee reports are done, if those presenting the committee reports or who are here for that can make space for the public comment period, that is what we're hoping for. So next on the agenda is presenter representative from the American Legion. Okay. Yeah, go ahead and go over there. There's a mic there, so it'll pick you up a little better.
My name is Karen Martell, and I am the Sergeant of Arms of American Legion Post 57. And I'm here to make a request of a grant of land so we can construct a new post headquarters. I have a presentation, but for those who are not familiar with what the American Legion is, we are one of the oldest, or Post 87 rather, is one of the oldest American Legion posts in the country. It was created in October 1919, the same year that Congress chartered the American Legion as a patriotic veterans organization. We do a tremendous amount of community service work. We meet currently at CPRD's offices every second Tuesday at 7 o'clock every month, which is, kind of works, but there's a reason why we're asking for some property, and I'll get to that here. We have a variety of programs that we do. We have veteran service officers who help veterans with applying for their benefits to the VA or the state or other agencies, acquiring grants and things like that. Also advocate on their behalf if there's any unfair rejection of that. We sponsor the Boy Scout troop here in town. We also do various other events such as Boys and Girls State, which is a model government summer camp that teaches students about how American democracy works. It's actually a very important program because if you don't attend Boys State or Girls State, you basically can't get into academies such as West Point. And in fact, just this past year, we've had a Newburgh High School graduate get into West Point who attended our Boys State program. We also do a variety of other services, everything from veterans funeral services, processions. We provide rent assistance to veterans. We provide assistance for drug rehab programs and homelessness and all manner of things. So when I say that we're making a request of land, we're not just another nonprofit, looking for a handout. I would ask that you consider this to be a request of the sons and daughters of Newburgh and Dundee who are veterans. So over 2,000 of us here in the area. And we are looking to provide more services to those who have borne the burden of national service and continue to be of service ourselves. So, our request is for the donation of approximately 30 acres of land to construct a new post building for Legion meetings so the post can better serve veterans in Newburgh and the Dundee area. If we're on the third slide here, I have kind of a mock-up, which is from a recently constructed post this past 2 years. Looking for approximately 15,000 square feet for the post headquarters itself, which would have commercial kitchen, billiards, game rooms, ballrooms, conference areas, large lounge bar, and of course veteran service officer office space for meeting with veterans and helping them with their needs. As I said earlier, we currently meet CPRD's offices, and as many people can probably tell, there's not really enough space if every veteran in the area showed up. Again, there's over 2,000 veterans in the area here, and it would be rather cramped. This area would also have a camping area for about 30 pull-through RV spaces, which seems peculiar until you think about the fact that American Legion, as I said before, helps a lot of veterans who are in crisis. We have a lot of veterans who, the unfortunate reality is that a lot of veterans, as they get older, they can no longer afford to take care of themselves. And they end up living at post headquarters around the country at various RV spots. It's become a very common thing, as well as veterans who are in need of hospice care, who don't have any families to take care of them. The Legion is their family and will take care of them. So that's the purpose behind that. We're also asking for enough space to have an outdoor event area. We figure about 4.5 acres, approximately the size of a baseball diamond. The Legion does have a baseball program for veterans, but we also are asking to use it for event space, fairs, and other types of events that we can put on, which helps us with fundraising, but also provides, more community for veterans. Fourth slide. Another mock-up post. Actual photos really of a recently constructed Chapel Hill post number 6, which is a very modernly constructed post. And then the next slide shows more from the interior of the post. This is something similar to what we are envisioning constructing for our community here. And then last slide, please. So we have basically a 5-year plan for how we're going to build this out if our request is granted. After receiving the donated land to construct the new post, Post 57 will execute a 5-year plan to scale the development over time as funds are raised to complete the vision for the new post. Year 1, we will acquire a portable building for temporary use for holding meetings, which we think will cost us about $10,000 to do, which we can do, and use for veteran service officers' office space while raising money for constructing RV sites in the outdoor event area. During the 2nd year, we will construct RV sites in the outdoor event area, and we can use that as well to run various events, as I mentioned before, for doing fundraising to construct the actual building, which we will continue to do those fundraising between years 3 and 4, and we think that we need to raise about $4 million to construct the building, and we think that we can do that by year 5. So that is the end of my presentation.
I got a question.
Yes.
Have you got some idea where, if we were going to have this, where this would be?
We would request somewhere within city limits that would not be hard to hook up to utilities.
Have you looked at CPRD properties to find out if we even have such a property available?
Kind of, but CPRD has a lot of property, and we don't know what the plans are for all that property. So we figured that we would just make a request of about 30 acres and see what we can get.
I think staff, if you guys want to look into this, and then this is something we can maybe discuss at the next meeting, if we have anything that would meet those qualifications or those parameters, and then we'll just discuss that further. Give us a little time to look, see what we have, see if it's an option. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Just kidding.
Okay, so we are going to do committee reports. I wasn't totally clear. Is there a pickleball committee report outside of what was presented tonight?
No, that included the
Okay, very good. Okay. So our other committee reports are, we'll do golf next.
Steve Paulson,
Hi.
Golf Course Committee. So, 3 buckets here, a quick maintenance update. couple discussion points, and 2 motion requests. Maintenance update from Scott was a fall aeration has been completed on all tees and greens, which is great. Number 13, tee boxes will be leveled in the coming weeks. For golfers that play here, they'll know what we're talking about. Received a price and bid for upgrade to the current irrigation system, which is in need, the satellite system. Chehalem Glen does not currently have a standalone roller which would improve play on the greens. There's a roller connected, I saw pictures of it, to a mower, but it doesn't have enough weight like a traditional standalone roller to get the greens ideal. It's about 17 grand for a standalone roller. That would really greatly improve the greens, which would increase play here. Finally, Scott's to get golf course evaluations from other superintendents to determine what improvements specifically are needed. This service is at no charge to CPRD, he told us. Couple discussion points. Recommendation that CPRD should contract out Pro Shop Services and ask to put RFP on all RFP boards available. The golf course committee needs to write a mission statement and purpose. We all agreed on that. Ask CPRD to move forward with feasibility study and create 3-phase master plan for clubhouse, additional 9 holes, and maintenance, cost, budgeting, etc. Request that the golf course committee reserves the right to steer direction of 3-phase master plan. Hire a pond company to complete evaluation to improve pond health and protect wildlife. We got a bit of I would say a severe issue on the 2 ponds in stagnation. The wildlife has left. We're concerned about that. Golf course priority/needs, standalone roller, tree trimming, tee boxes leveled, clean ponds, clear out blackberries, new clubhouse, contract out Pro Shop Services, update irrigation system, sprinkler heads need to be raised, net needed for driving range, more trash receptacles, and new driving range targets, with an emphasis on the sprinkler heads need to be raised again. For people that go out there, there's a couple sprinkler heads that are like this far into the underground. If you're not paying attention, you can seriously hurt yourself. There's a lot of elderly people that play out there as well. Finally, 2 motion requests, then I'm done. Number 1, we are asking the board to authorize golf committee to post an RFP seeking the creation of a master plan for a clubhouse, restaurant, and event space for the golf course. The golf committee will review the RFP applications and bring to the board the best option to retain the master plan. Motion 2, board to authorize an evaluation of the pond and what the pond needs to bring it to proper working order. We've been told, the current status of the pond is not habitable for wildlife and possibly brings harm to local wildlife as well. I've been told that the current pump in the pump house, it's 1 to 2 horsepower and it needs 5 to 7 horsepower motor to actively keep the ponds flowing and have adequate oxygen. We went from having tons of ducks in those ponds and all kinds of, so many fish that people were fishing there, which that's against the rules. It's just stagnant. It needs, the wildlife aren't there. So that's all I got. I appreciate your support.
Okay. So regarding the master plan, I know we have a meeting coming up where we're going over our priorities and agendas and so forth. So I think we're going to broach that topic in future meetings. Regarding the pond, does staff have any specific comment on that at this time, or is that something that potentially we should discuss later?
We'll discuss it later.
Okay. Okay. And then our final committee report is Trail Committee. Is that going to be online or in person?
That's here. That's here.
Quentin's supposed to, okay. Give them just a little bit of time to pop up online.
Casey?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Awesome. Thank you, President Smith and the Board of Directors, for having me and the ability for me to zoom in tonight. Quentin Comas, Chair of the Chehalem Heritage Trails Advisory Committee. Before I get started, I mentioned something similar to this last month in my report, but I asked that everybody look around the room and look at the power of democracy. Look at all the the youth that are in the audience. I have the privilege and honor both as a high school student and undergraduate in college to join several public meetings for causes that I believe were important to me and my peers. And I think tonight's just another testament for how active our community is and how incredible that is. To that point, I want to thank Cindy Riggs and the rest of our committee for their continued outreach in our community, working to bring awareness to the trails that are available and the issues that folks are concerned about, and bringing that to our attention as a committee and to the board as well. I also want to update the board that Matt Dolphin on our committee and Kat, obviously staff of CPRD, are working diligently to make digital maps available and update a trail microsite on the CPRD website so that that awareness that we're looking for can have a wider reach through the power of the internet in the 21st century. And the last thought I heard, and I'm sure Matt Dolphin can fill us in later, but we didn't get around to planning a trail work party in September. There might still be an opportunity in October. If not, I know that we are already eager to work with all trail users in the Park District to plan ahead for next year, next summer season, to get the trails up to impeccable maintenance standard. Really big, exciting news and huge thanks to Kat and the team at Allegra and Oregon Data for the survey, the community trail survey that was approved at last month's meeting. That is now being distributed. And last I checked, the numbers have been flowing in very quickly. We're up to 43 respondents so far. So we as a committee are very eager and excited that that process has finally started, and we are seeing the results of all that hard work. So thank you to the committee and all those involved in making that survey and all the mailers and the security of that survey possible. After discussion, this was something that was mentioned in our committee. We considered, after having so many members kind of fall off and decide to commit their attention elsewhere in their personal lives over the last few years, do we want to add additional members to our committee as our bylaws allow us to, and seek the board to help us in doing so? After discussion at this previous month's meeting, we decided that we did not feel that was necessary. We had a good representation of active members who were go-getters and ready to take community engagement and kind of sift through that and then present it to the board through actionable items. So therefore, we are not going to pursue seeking additional members for our committee, but we'll continue to focus on that community engagement that we believe is necessary for the quality of our work. Therefore, I do want to highlight this is our main recommendation for the board tonight. There's been a lot of talk around specifically Bob and Crystal Riley Park, but I think all of us can acknowledge that trails in general, their usage, their maintenance, where we have trails, where we're expanding trails and maintaining trails have become a hot topic in our county and specifically in CPRD. There's been a lot of phenomenal engagement with various user groups and citizens, taxpayers, those who are interested in using trails, concerned about trails' impacts on the environment, their property, social welfare. So given a lot of great conversation happening in these public meetings, which is a phenomenal forum to bring things to the attention of the Park District, we believe it would be in the best interest, however, for the board to refrain from making any type of quick judgment calls, any changes to management that staff are currently implementing. And we take this opportunity, kind of leaving the busy season at Bob and Crystal Riley Park and other parks with accessible trails, to conduct extensive engagement and research on best practices and fall back on the Trail Advisory Committee to use our expertise and our connections and our time, volunteer time, to consolidate all that information and present findings that are based off of best practices, that research, and also what the community is saying to us. So knowing that, public comment illustrates a lot of perspective and interest, and we don't want to lose that, but it's not always the best for answers. So we recommend to the CPRD Board of Directors that the Chehalem Heritage Trails Advisory Committee convene user group specific town halls for user groups including but not limited to equestrians, cyclists, and hikers, in addition to a multi-user focus group, both of which would be facilitated by a third party to explore user group desires and concerns. This feedback would be applicable to the entire Chehalem Trails network. although it specifically supplement the work of the Bob and Crystal Riley Park Master Plan. The committee shall record, synthesize, and publicly present the feedback to the CPRD Board of Directors no later than February 2024. So I'll leave you with that recommendation, but as always, I would be remiss if I didn't thank Brian, Casey, Kat, and Richard for all their unwavering support in making our meetings possible, allowing us to zoom in and publish it on YouTube, getting all of our agendas and the mailers and all of our recommendations sorted out, attending our meetings to provide perspective. We thank them for their relentless dedication, and thank you to our committee and all of its volunteer members and our board representatives, both Jason and Jim. We appreciate your perspectives and your attendance at our meetings as well. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah, I've got a comment for you. As I recall, when the committee was put together, I'm not sure, I can't recall, but that there was anyone from Equestrian that were interested at that time. There might be now, and I think having a person on the committee from the Equestrian group would be good communication for you folks. So just something to think about. Unless you have someone on there now, I don't think you do, but it'd be great to have someone there, I think.
Thank you. Yeah, we have folks that are members of equestrian trail organizations and those who ride occasionally, but we don't have someone, I guess, representing specifically the equestrians. I think for most of our group it is kind of a multi-user, everyone's multi-users, but I do appreciate that perspective and thought.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Okay. So what I'll ask is for those of you who are not signed in specifically to speak, and for those who presented committee reports, if you would like to give your space up, obviously I can't force you to, but if you'd like to, for those who are signed in to speak so that we can get everyone who's here for the public input period in the room, that would be great, because we are going to jump into public input, so I'll give a little bit of time for those of you who want to shift around to do so. And we're going to do, given the sheer numbers that we have, I want to make sure as many people as possible have the ability to speak. So we're going to start with a 2-minute time limit per person. We might have to move that down to 1 minute if we're not getting anywhere. And we're going to shoot for about roughly 45 minutes total. So we'll shoot for public input going to about 7:25, give or take. Okay? So with that said, everyone outside who is signed in specifically to speak, if you can try to make your way in, that'd be great. Okay, so I'm going to do my best to pick hands. So throw your hand up, and then what we're going to do is state your name and address. If you don't want to give your full address, just general city, region, it's fine. And with your comments, address the board, not others in the audience. Don't be personal. It's not meant to be a back and forth. It's just meant to speak your mind and be on the record. Okay? Yeah.
If anyone needs to sit down, there's 2 empty seats up front here.
Yeah, there are a couple seats up here.
So just heads up on that one.
A little bit of space is opening up.
And there's one over here as well.
And there's what's that?
We signed up on a sign-up sheet. Would you not just start at the top and work your way down?
No, I don't have the sign-up sheet. There are some seats over there and some seats over here. Yeah, you can grab it for me if you want. Okay.
The other thing is that if somebody's already spoken, they might move towards the back.
Okay. We have the sign-up sheet here. Okay, first we have, and I'm going to do my best to read, Doug
Very close.
Yeah, Doug something. Cousineau, hello. Okay.
First of all, I wanted to thank the board for allowing so many mountain bikers to come in. I know we have a lot of coaches, a lot of riders from the LOC Lake Oswego Composite Mountain Bike team here. I am the team director and the head coach for that particular organization, and we ride in the park. My address is actually in Bend, Oregon, actually South Bend, Oregon, and I travel back and forth to coach the team over in this particular area because I feel it's a very important part of raising good quality kids in our state of Oregon. So that's why I drive back and forth for this particular team that's over here. I did have a couple of things I wanted to cover with you. I realize time is short, and I thank you for your time, and I know it's important. We've got many people to talk here, but I think I've got a lot of important stuff for you after hearing the last couple of meetings, and some of that information that is passed on to you, a lot of it actually not true. But I wanted to give you a better indication of who we are and what we do in your parks that are here. As an organization of mountain bikers that use BCRP regularly, I feel we have a responsibility to actually provide this pertinent information in how we use the park. First, it's important for you to know who we are. We originated in the Lake Oswego area, and our current student athlete population is the southwest suburbs. It does include Newburgh and Sherwood. We are a nonprofit 501c3 group that consists of approximately 70 students, and we have athletes from the 6th to 12th grade. The student athletes compete in statewide cross-country style races each fall. Our practices are from July until the end of October, and that's our season. The LOC volunteer coaches, we currently have 18 qualified, and they're trained through the National Interscholastic Cycling Association, we call it NICA. All have been vetted, completed a background check, and received a variety of safety, child abuse prevention, risk management, first aid, and other leadership training in order to take part in our program. We have insurance for our practices and events. We have it through NICA and a company called Everest National Insurance Company. It does cover all of our practices wherever they are, including at Crystal Riley Park. Our athletes and coaches live in the suburbs of Southwest Portland. 20% are actually from the nearby communities of Sherwood and Newburgh, as I mentioned. The remaining are from Wilsonville, Tigard, Tualatin, Westland, Lake Oswego, Oregon City, and Canby, and numerous other communities in that area. Approximately 95% live within 25-minute drive of Crystal Riley Park. Our practices and races are specifically cross-country style, and they're not associated with enduro, downhill, BMX, or cyclocross style riding. As the park users know, the trails at BCRP are special. There are very few trails available for either mountain bikers or equestrians within 2 hours of our area. Our after-school rides require us to be nearby, and single-track trails at Crystal Riley are ideal for our practices. We usually practice one time a week.
If you could wrap up in the next 15 seconds.
We have also contributed 120 trail hours this year with our organization to Crystal Riley Park, and we are interested in doing more as well as other things come up. We're interested in working with the equestrians. We do not want to kick other people off the trails. We would like to work together with the community in order to maintain the trails and to supply manpower and things to do that. Also, if you do find other trails in the community, and I think there was talk about that in some meetings, to have mountain bikers possibly in another area, we would also encourage you to include equestrians in that group as well, so there can be more equestrian trails there as well, not just mountain bikers. We think we can work together. In fact, another park that we do practice at in Lake Oswego includes equestrians and mountain bikers working perfectly in harmony. Never any incidents otherwise. I do have a lot of other information for you. I'd love to share with you, and possibly I'll be on the board for more time.
Yeah, we got your information too, these users. Thank you.
Gotcha.
Yes. You're very welcome.
Thank you. Next on the list, we have Dana Kemp.
Dana Kemp, I'm a former board member at the Crystal Riley Foundation. I live in the neighborhood next to the Rifle Park.
Speak a little louder, please.
Sure. CPRD, you have one of the largest landholders in the area, and I would think that you could find another place for the mountain bikers to ride. This seems to be the best solution to keep the gift integrity and avoid the safety issues that we're experiencing today, and provide another option for the mountain bikers to ride.
Next on my list here is Justin Alderman with Equestrian Media Group.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Justin Alderman. I'm the managing editor of the Equestrian Media Group and our flagship publication, Northwest Horse Report. We're not here today to advocate for any particular position, but I did want to address specifically the board on a matter after becoming aware of some of the current matters, thanks to some equestrians. We wanted to dig in and find out if there is merit to some of their ongoing allegations and allegations from multiple sides of this debate, which clearly has a lot of attention from your community. My concern has to do with responses from CPRD itself in relation to records requests that we make, which are customary and standard practice as investigative reporters when seeking information and truth in the operation of our government. Specifically, we made a request for records and then followed up with a request for a waiver of fees. I believe CPRD has not acted in compliance with Oregon Public Records Law. First, by simply stating in a reply from Ms. Richter, CPRD has chosen not to grant this fee waiver. You still have the option to proceed with the request at an estimated cost. We politely requested that CPRD both articulate the reason for that denial, as well as to consider a reduction in lieu of a complete waiver. The response from that was CPRD has considered your request for a waiver or reduction of fees and has again decided not to grant a waiver or reduction of those fees. We did a subsequent request and ultimately received this request for a waiver has been denied. Our request to have specific information on why that denial was made was essentially completely ignored. According to Oregon statute, as well as the Oregon Attorney General's Public Records Guidance Manual, Oregon courts have repeatedly found and interpreted that exemptions and denials made by public bodies are the public body's burden to articulate the reason for those denials. And in this case, the public body did not provide any articulation to those reasons, nor did the public body also identify our request to identify the person who ultimately made that determination. I implore and request that this board intervene in this matter to motion and ultimately waive these requests for records or direct the officials with CPRD to reevaluate their obligations in accordance with Oregon law. It is our interest to help this public understand the actions of their government, whether those bits of information support one position or another, and ultimately to find the facts so we can do our job as journalists in seeking the truth. And just an ending, in a April 1961 speech to the American Newspaper Publishers Association, President John F. Kennedy said, "The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we as a people inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths and secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweigh the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in imposing the threat of closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there's little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it."
Thank you. Okay. Next on my list is Matt Dolphin. It says if he doesn't leave early, he's still okay.
Matt Dolphin, member of the Chehalem Parks and Rec Trail Advisory Committee, as well as a member of the Oregon Equestrian Trail Association. I was disappointed to be shouted down last month when I mentioned that the Oregon Equestrian Trails is very much in favor of shared multi-use trails and people getting along those trails. I'm going to read you something very quickly. Sharing the trails means more trails for everyone. We may have different ways of enjoying the outdoors, but we're all out there because we love our trails. By sharing them, we ensure more riding and hiking opportunities for everyone. Be cool. Treat the people you meet on the trail just like you treat a friend. They're out to have fun just like you, and you can make their day and yours with a smile and a cheerful hello. Being friendly can diffuse trail confrontations before they happen.
So I would encourage a little less cruel and a little more cool among all users of our trails. So with that being said, I am organizing a group for this spring, both equestrian, bicyclist, hikers, all types of users to get together and follow this Share the Trail program, which, by the way, was created by Oregon Equestrian Trails and the Backcountry Horsemen in cooperation with bike groups and hiking groups. So if we're looking for cooperation and collaboration, this is the path forward, everyone. We need to set these differences aside, work together. So I'm going to form a group of organizers and hopefully participants. If you really care about safety and friendliness on trails, I would encourage you to follow up with me so that you can participate. If safety is just an excuse that you're using to turn Bob and Krista Riley Park back into a private, members-only equestrian riding club, then you won't follow up probably, and then we'll know where we're all at. So if safety is a concern, please follow up with me so we can get this program up and running. We can all start enjoying the trails safely together. Thank you.
Next, I have a Kirsten Roofer, but only if I can, so I don't know.
She had to step out.
Had to step out, okay. Next, we have Steve Paulson. Were you yes on this?
Yes.
Okay, you are up. Name and address, please.
Steve Paulson, Newburgh, the Greens. Block that just, there we go. So, 13, 14 months ago, I started coming to these meetings, getting involved. Golf course that just kind of evolved from there. Met Dana and her group and stood up here and supported them, having come from a 600-acre farm. My sister had horses. I was an innocent bystander. Have never been to the park, but this is when I really started getting interested. And I was out campaigning for new board members that I believed and our community believed would help create a positive change with Parks and Rec. And there was a comment made last meeting, just kind of, it's on YouTube, and it basically was to the tone of, wow, why can't I miss the meetings of when we had like 3 people show up? And I just want everyone to know that and addressing the board, that the reason why this many people, there's north of 150 people in here at the highest point. I don't know what TV and F&R would say to this. I'm sure it's in some kind of violation from a hazard standpoint. But the reason this many people are showing up, it's going to continue to grow, is because we elected people that we believed would not kick the can down the road, but would actually evoke positive change for the community, and that's what these people are doing. So for the people that have been around for 38 years, again, thank you for your contributions to this community. But as I said 14 months ago on YouTube, check the tape, I said change was coming and change is here. And it's positive change, and these people care. I don't know if they knew what was going on for the past 37 years because you didn't have crowds show up in mass. It's going to continue to grow. So just be ready for that, and I believe that positive change is going to continue to come. Thank you.
I have a yes beside the person that said they're going to be here for 16.
What's your name?
Rodney Lister.
Oh, speak by 6:15.
No, that was by the person.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Okay, sure. I have it written down and I'll send it to Kat so she can forward it to you, but it's just a quick summary. My name is Rodney. I'm a resident of Sherwood. I'm a volunteer on the Sherwood Parks Board, a volunteer for the Sherwood West Community Advisory Committee, and a mountain bike coach. I joined Sherwood Parks to promote people getting outdoors, enjoying the parks, and recreation in the area. I believe parks benefit people's physical and mental health greatly. I have been an observer of past CPRD board meetings and have felt that now is the time to speak up. I'm going to summarize this one, but I'd like to now start out by saying how dangerous horseback riding is. There's a bunch of stuff out there about bronc riding. How can you be on a horse for 6 seconds or 8 seconds and fall off? People with broken arms and died. There's a study. Exactly. I want to say that exactly. Just like it was in the last meeting, there's talk about people downhilling down a mountain bike course in Mount Hood. Nothing to do with what we're doing at the park. many things that were said in the last board meeting had nothing to do with Bob and Chrisley Riley Park. So my next statement says, hearing the statement above, I hope you think I'm a fool. Because saying a fool was saying that the parks, bronc riding in the park's a bad thing. Horseback riding is not a bad thing, it's a great thing. Get out, ride your horse in the park, it's perfect. Ride your mountain bike in the park, it's perfect. That's what these parks boards are for. So the thing I want to summarize in what I'm saying is that you've got a master planning process in place. You can have a lot of the public come in and tell you things that are not true, tell you things that are not complete, or tell you things that are biased a certain way, just like I did with my bronc horse riding. Don't listen to those. Listen to them, hear them, put the master plan in place, have consultants review it, have proper public input, and then make a proper decision. So I'm asking you guys to continue doing what you're doing. I've attended the master planning process before. The behavior there was quite surprising, but it went well. I just encourage the board to continue the master planning like many other parks boards do. Listen to everybody, hear everybody, and make your decision based off a consultant or an expert in the field. Thanks very much.
Okay, it's unclear if this next person wants to speak. Josh Keller. Okay. Otto Keller. No. Okay. Next, I have. Nope. Okay. Next, I have Amber Rosenberry.
I just wanted to.
Name and address, please.
My name is Amber Rosenberry. I am the current Miss Oregon. I was rated most well-rounded at the Miss USA pageant, and that's because I'm a product of the Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District. Part of growing up in communities that have park and recreation districts like this is the fact that you get to take a spectrum of dance classes, a spectrum of art classes. You get to be exposed to so many different life experiences. Horses can't greet you friendly. That's one of the challenges, is the riders and bicycles of horses can greet each other friendly. A horse doesn't have that same option. I do want to make sure that any kid growing up in Oregon, particularly in this area, has the opportunity to have all of those life experiences. By opening the trails to multi-use, it's not safe for kids on horses anymore. Horses just can't be controlled in the same way a bicycle can. And I don't want the kids in Oregon to lose that opportunity. Thank you all.
Thank you. We do have 2 seats up front here if anyone out in the hall would like to come on in. Next on the list we have Lauren Pfeiffer. I don't know if that's right.
Yep.
Hello.
Hello. Thanks, everybody. My name is Lauren Pfeiffer. I live on Park Mountain, not far from the park. And the Yamhill County horse community, when I moved here a little more than 3 years ago, was so welcoming and strong and solid, and have the Bob and Crystal Riley trails to ride with new neighbors was amazing. And I never imagined that it would be in jeopardy as it feels like it is today. So, like my fellow riders, we were extremely disappointed when the east side was taken away from the horses. And to this day, even after attending many of these meetings over the last year, I don't understand really how or why this decision was abruptly made. I do believe the key point is safety, and you've heard that a lot over the course of the last couple of meetings and tonight. And to reiterate what Amber said, there is no time to have a conversation about how to be safe if a horse meets a bike on the trail. There is no time. The horse has probably bolted at that point. The current regulations are not working. There's bike tracks all over the east side. I was just out on Saturday with one of my young horses who had never been on the trail before. And again, I would have preferred to be on the east side where it's flatter and open, but we were on the west side. There were bike tracks all over the place, and I was just holding my breath that we weren't going to run into a bike, because again, it was his first trail ride. So I think we can all agree that in general, for everybody, right, everything's closing in, right? There's new industrial parks, there's new more high-density housing going in all around us, and more traffic. So let's please preserve this park as intended while we can, and not let this area become just like the rest of the suburbs around us, to be honest. And, you know, CPRD, I ask you really to do the right thing and preserve what was intended for the park by returning 100% of the park to horses and hikers. No favors, no biases, just as originally intended. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Norwood Paladin. Okay, if everyone could make room for him to come on in. Hello.
Go ahead.
Yep, name and address.
So I'm Norwood Paladin. I live in Sherwood. It's kind of hard to hear what's been said already from back there. But I'll just say that it's my understanding that the park was left for a couple of reasons. One was to ensure that there be no further development on the land that they love. And the second was that horse access, equestrian access be maintained. I believe that's even on your website. I used to love to ride up there, and then one day, it's been several years ago now, I don't know exactly when it happened, but come to find out, half of the park has been closed down to horseback riding. Now, the Rileys left you the entire park for horseback riding, not just half the park, the entire park. And half of that has now been shut off to equestrian riding. But the thing is, no matter where you go up there, bicyclists ride on the east side, they ride on the west side, and it doesn't seem to matter where they go. But the horses seem to have to stick to one side or the other, or to their one side. I did hear a lot about safety. Every time I've been up to the park, riding on my horse, I haven't always encountered bikes, but when I do, they're going 20 miles an hour, they've got stuff sticking out of their ears, they're not paying attention, and they're just going all over the place. I don't know how much time I've got left.
30 seconds.
I'm just gonna say that if it wasn't for the Rileys, you guys wouldn't have that property. And I think we need to continue on and make it a horse facility. If the bikes want to go up there, that's fine, I guess. I don't know, but horses should be able to go everywhere the bikes go. And I'll end with this. As for myself, I'm going to continue to ride on either side until the laws or the rules are enforced equally for the bikes as well as the horses. My name's Norwood Paladin. Thank you very much.
Okay, next we have Ryan Reinhofer.
Hello, I'm Brian Reinhofer. I live on Parrot Mountain, adjacent to the park. A lot of you are probably already familiar with me, as I've attended every single meeting for over a year. I guess I've been persistent on speaking, advocating for safety and the gifted intent over every single meeting, every single presentation, every single documentation. I sent another 36 pages today. Actually, my question for the board boils down to, what in the world would ever motivate anyone to gift their land to CPRD in the future if their wishes, their intent is not honored or upheld? I think it's really a matter of integrity and trust, and I see that that's kind of gone off track, and that's really and truly, along with the safety, of course, that's how my whole participation started, which was almost hitting kids like you with a 2,500-pound horse, and I don't want that on my conscience. I don't want anyone to get hurt. That's why I'm here, but it boils down to, why would anyone ever donate land if their wishes aren't respected and upheld?
It's called an equestrian park, not a bicycle park.
Yeah.
So on that note, with this in mind, or other, I'd like to pledge $10,000 of my own money to CPRD, with the sole caveat that that money is applied towards something equestrian. Whether it be signage, whether it be corrals, whether it be gates, whether it be education, but $10,000, here you go. I'm gonna give it to you tomorrow. If you can promise me, and that I can trust that you will keep your promise, that it will go towards the original intent of something equestrian. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Dave Sheldon.
Right over here. Thank
Hello.
you. I'm Dave Sheldon. I'm a resident of Wilsonville. This is my son Lincoln, 12-year-old, going into 6th grade. And I'm a local administrator, school administrator in North Marion. Had lots of athletic director meetings in this room over the years. That's kind of fun to be back here. Hey, I grew up in Bend. My very first job was working on a ranch. Love horses. I can't tell you how many times I stood forehead to forehead with horses. I married a gal from Lebanon. Her folks have got 50 acres, and horses have always been a part of what we've done. It was 2 years ago. He's probably going to kill me for bringing him into this, but this little guy's tried every sport possible, and he decided that mountain biking was going to be his thing. And I was very much like, yeah, sign me up. And I want to dispel any single stories that exist about what mountain bikers may be. I don't agree with the concept that we're hooligans that are flying down the hills with things sticking out of our ears. What I'd like to share with y'all a conversation I had with him 2 weeks ago up at the park. He was struggling with some self-concept, and we had a great conversation on those trails, on our bikes, about growth mindset and belief in self. And he said, Dad, and he finished 2 entire circuits that day without a stop. He was so proud of himself, and he said, I'd like to participate in the next race. At his first race this last week at Newport, was so very proud of him. Those trails are giving us as local residents the opportunity to go up there and to build a relationship. We've become we're part of the Washington County composite team, so we've been able to build community. There are kids on that team that use those trails that are mentoring him. He looks up to them. They don't, there's no bullying, there is nothing but building him up as a human being. As an administrator, I see lots of kids that sit in front of TVs all day long, that don't have community, that don't have fitness opportunities. He's out there on the trails, building opportunities with his father, building opportunities to believe in himself, being part of a community, and those trails facilitate it. You've heard that there's an oasis for opportunities for us around here. That's right within 15 minutes for us. And so it is an amazing place for us to be. I thank you so much for your time, Board, and for your volunteer.
Okay, next on my list is Bob Freshman. Bob, you here?
We're here.
Okay.
My name is Bob Freshman. I live close to the park. We've lived there for almost 24 years at this point. And we had the pleasure of actually knowing the Riley family. They allowed us to use their property for riding and hiking. Just said, don't ride in the fields, close the gates. And that was all they asked of us. And so we feel very lucky that we're able to do that. I've had, for the last probably 50 years, I've been both a road biker, an off-road biker, an equestrian, and a hiker who now uses the park probably 5 days a week. So I'm up there, I see what goes on almost every day. And by the way, my appreciation to Russ, who does an incredible job of keeping that park maintained as well. But one thing I hear primarily from the mountain bike industry or the bike industry is that everybody's polite to everybody. I wish that was the case. My own personal experiences, both as a rider, I'm not riding anymore. I call myself a recovering equestrian. We now have pasture ornaments that we don't ride. But I'm out there, and I would have to say it's far and few between where I actually have somebody slow down, let me know that they're there, just be courteous. I'd have to say at least 3/4 of my interactions are somebody flying by me at high speed, behind me, in front of me, 20 miles an hour plus, around blind corners. I don't move quite as fast as I used to, so it's a little more of a challenge. But it's a very unpleasant situation. At best, it's unpleasant. At worst, it's dangerous. And I think there's going to be a point where there's going to be an incident that occurs somebody's going to be injured. The park's going to be involved in this. There's going to be, whatever occurs, occurs. I think you just have to be cognizant of the fact that it isn't always that way. Last thing just to finish with is knowing the Riley family is, there was absolutely no intent that I've ever heard from them that other than equestrians or hikers use that property, they wanted to expand the equestrian use and facilities. Anyway, thank you very much.
Okay, I have a maybe for Russ Mate.
It's Russ Moat.
Russ Moat, okay.
I love kids. I've been a teacher for 31 years. I've been involved with the National Interscholastic Cycling Association with different teams, mostly in California. These type of things that are going on here as far as trail use, they're nothing new. They've gone on in Folsom, they've gone on in the state parks. So I've been to a few of these meetings. Nobody knows me here because I just moved to Oregon City. But at any rate, what I really wanted to, someone said they were going to donate some money for education. And I think that's what it's all about. If we, you know, in some of the past teams I've been associated with, we had horse people come and we met them with their bicycles. They put on a seminar for us, and the kids learned what to do, and that's what we teach as far as National Interscholastic Cycling Association. We teach respect for yourself and others, all users of the trail. We also put a lot of time into working on trails. One of the requirements is that they have to give back to the community. So they have worked for American River Conservancy, and they built multi-use trails. You know, horse trails. Now in the summer I take horse and mules trip. Next week I'll be over in Bishop, 900 mother cows on 27,000 acres of sagebrush. That's where I'm going to be horseback. But during the week, I'm going to spend all my time with these kids. But we only practiced at that park once a week. And there's all kinds of things that we can do to coexist together in a very positive way. There's no black and white here. We build multi-use trails for the American River Conservancy, for the Forest Service, for the state parks, Folsom. These kids are your future. I love them. And they are learning so much. They challenge themselves. I'm out of time. But you got to understand that I love them just as much as you know, my horse. That's saying a lot.
Okay. Unclear here. Carrie Martell, did you want to speak on this, or was that okay? That was earlier. Okay. And then down to Jason Beets or Dietz, I'm not sure.
Yep, right here.
Oh.
Thank you. Hi there. All right, I made a few notes. I've never attended a meeting, so if I stumble a bit, please excuse me. I don't know who to thank, and if I can thank anybody for the ability for us to be able to use the area for cycling, but I tell you, it's been great. I've been a cyclist for over 50 years. I feel like I represent the cycling community because I've worked in the industry for 30 years, and I sell bikes. And I can tell you that we've had a big change in the bicycle community as a whole in all of Portland. People are afraid to be on the roads. They need to be somewhere where they feel safe. And mountain biking has flourished like never before. I've been riding them since they were invented. And I work at the biggest shop in the whole region. And we sell more mountain bikes than just about anything. People are really getting into it. So I'm just an advocate for, you know, the mountain biking community. I live in Sherwood. I probably spent over 150 hours at the park this year after I discovered I could go hiking up there, biking up there. I've been to every little corner of that. And I'm really surprised to see all the conflict because, you know, I'm there much and I don't hardly see anybody. I see a few people here and there. It's wonderful. You know, we used to have Magnus Tree Farm we could go to and hike around, and that was real great. But then they closed that down. And so now I found this new place, and I just hate to see, you know, the biking segment of it go away. When I was a kid, I was taught when you run into a horse on a bike, you stop, you get off, you walk. You talk to the horse, you cooperate. I don't know if that got lost somewhere along the way when you educate people, but it sounds like we've divided the park to kind of eliminate that conflict. And whatever way it goes, I just hope that the bicycles don't lose their enjoyment of it, because everybody needs that getaway, that workout, that stress relief. It's close to home, and as a bicyclist, you may not know it, but you have to travel long ways to get on your mountain bike to go for a ride. I mean, you have to go all the way out to Vernonia, you can go all the way out to Sandy Ridge. It's a good hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of driving, then you get stuck in traffic. But for the people in Sherwood, Newburgh, Wilsonville, and the closer in areas, hey, we can hit this trail and be there in just 15, 20 minutes. It's been wonderful. So I hope we can all work it out. It's the first time I've been in one of these meetings. I don't know all the fireworks that's happened before I got here, but I just wanted to communicate for the cycling community as a whole, and just how much I've been enjoying it, and I hope we can maintain that access.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on my list, it looks like we only have 4 or 5 left, so we will get through everyone, is Jessica Kane.
Hi, my name is Jessica Kane. I live here in Newburgh. I've been practicing attorney here since 2003. One thing that I think I have unique to all of you is that I actually represented Crystal Riley. My firm assisted her in forming her foundation. She sat in meetings and at lunches with me. I had a good connection with her and her step-granddaughter, Elizabeth Rode. And the reason that we had that connection is that Liz and Crystal wanted that property to be just like the Iowa Living History Farms. And I grew up in Iowa. And as a kid, I went to field trips at the Iowa Living History Farm, and so we related very closely in that regard. So when people ask what Crystal Riley wanted, frankly, the horses were secondary to what her vision was. That those trails existed, all of the neighbors rode the trails, they were friendly, they all got along, they shared the property as equestrian and hiking trails. There was never a mention of bikes. And really there was never a mention of this being a trail system. It was more being a historical living farm to celebrate the history that the Parrott family had established there. She was the last of the Parrott family that was born up on the mountain. She talked about stories about in the early 1900s walking by the China camp and seeing the Chinese people who were hunkered down there eating with chopsticks outside their tents. She talked about the history of the farm and the horses pulling the wagons and the Native American history there. She worked with Linfield College and had archaeological digs on her site. What she wanted to celebrate was the history of a living farm here in Orkwood. That's what she wanted. The equestrian trails were secondary, but also became a part of her vision. They were not her primary vision. Bikes were never her vision. And so I really am stumped at how this became a trail issue, when really this is a living history farm issue. This is something that the Parks and Rec Board received this property and knew what the intent was. There was a master plan done by Crystal Riley before she passed. And the foundation board, they did that work. But we're doing new master. There's another master plan or site analysis done by CPRD in 2016. And now I hear we're doing another master plan. The plans exist, folks. You just gotta read them and look at them and see what Crystal wanted. She wanted her husband Bob to be celebrated on Bob's Corner with a campground and signage talking about his history. She wanted a living farm. She wanted to have some agricultural opportunities. She wanted a Native American area. She wanted art and history and classes about gardening and camping and cooking and all the things that she as a young child got to experience that we don't get to experience in this day and age. She wanted kids to understand where we all come from.
Okay.
And so I think it's important to get back to that and understand that this is not about equestrian trails. It's about a living history farm. Get back to what the intended donation was. And really work hard to anticipate those needs and wants of the people who donated it to the CPRD board and try to implement those to the best of your ability.
We are past time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I have Alan Groby.
Yes, I'm Alan Groby from Sherwood. I grew up here in Newburgh, and I actually knew Crystal, not Bob, but Crystal. I use the park, living not very far away. My wife and I use it multiple times during the week, mostly hiking. And I just want to say, we've never had issues with cyclists. They're polite, kind. They share it. I've not had any issues. I have had a few issues with people on horses, but you know, you learn to share the trail. I don't know Crystal well enough to know what her intentions were, but I do know back in the 80s when I was a young kid, she gave me permission to ride my mountain bike there. So it's a little strange to hear. In other words, I don't want you to infer that Crystal was against mountain biking. She wasn't. She had no problem with me and my friends going there. So I'm just here to say we can all share the trails, and I think the cyclists are doing a great job.
Next, we have Tom Hammer.
Thank you. Tom Hammer, rural Yamhill County. Oregon's got over 200 trails. They already exist, and they do a wonderful job of providing a place for people to hike and bike and ride. And Chehalem Parks and Recreation has it in their master plan to create many, many, many miles of new trails. And new trails present different problems than ones that are already there. I think that to start off the program with the survey was to start off with on the wrong foot. So I've got a questionnaire here, a little tongue-in-cheek, a questionnaire about trail surveys. I'm going to read these until Chairman Smith shuts me down. I'll probably finish sometime. If a group of 5,000 area residents is surveyed about trails, how many will understand relevant land use law? 10 or fewer individuals, 35%, 65% or more. By law, a farm impact study must precede the planting of recreational trails through farm country, true or false? If a group of 5,000 area citizens is surveyed about trails, how many will own real property and pay property taxes? Less than 10%, 35%, 65% or more. Private property ownership contributes greatly to citizens achieving self-sufficiency, true or false? Those not achieving the American dream should be surveyed and encouraged to contribute ideas on public policy that would adversely affect private property owners and property taxpayers, true or false? A trail survey that asks for wants, which are non-essential, but not for needs, which are essential, is grounded in fiscal responsibility thinking, true or false? Farms and rural home sites are impervious to trespass, theft, and vandalism, true or false? Trails through farm country would lower farm values and increase liability insurance rates, true or false? If trails would bring restrictions that reduce the income from farm property, that's okay, true or false? If trails would
Time's up, Tom.
This is a take-home quiz. I'm gonna.
I'll pass it down for you.
Oh, well, I'll just sit down and then I'll pass them off with the next one.
Okay, sounds good. Last but certainly not least on our list is Josiah Schlender.
Sorry, I'm not here. I'm been able to hear everybody. Thanks everybody. I'm Josiah Schlender. I'm a resident here in Newburgh. I just appreciate the dialogue that's going on tonight. What I really hear is a lot of common ground, honestly. The bikers and the bicyclists, I think, just have much in common. In my perspective, I think I'm just coming as a parent of young children. I watched the YouTube video. I wasn't here for the last presentation, but I saw the presentation, and it seemed like this picture of children out front with bikes was supposed to be a scary thing. And to me, that's not scary at all. I think that's really wonderful that there's 50 kids out there on bikes instead of on their butts playing Minecraft, to be honest. And so I already see. You know, Bob and Crystal Rogers Park is a mixed-use type of facility. Anyways, I took one of my daughters up there, not this summer, but last summer, for a little art camp. It was next to the the farmhouse there. And, you know, those things are really wonderful, and I'd love to see more things happen and this property be used for even more things than just equestrian and just hiking and just biking. You know, I think it's a humongous property. Is it about 1,000 acres? That's total. You know, well, like property is 325, right? But what's the total acreage of CPRD? Is it around 1,000?
Of all of CPRD,
Yeah, of all of
1,008 acres.
Okay. Yeah. What I guess what I see, that's close to a third. You know, that's probably one of the biggest chunks of property. You know, what I'd love to see is, you know, a property like this, you know, execute a master plan up here. I don't know that plan really well, but it didn't sound like bikes were excluded from the master plan. So I like that, the Trails Committee's proposal to expand the inquiry, you know, bring people together, I get equestrians and bikers in the same room and figure out their common ground and how this, what's already a mixed use property, and I think the intent for the broader group, you know, of the community to use. You know, my girls are also playing soccer at Jacob Park, and they're playing on baseball fields. You know, I'm sure there's some baseball parents that aren't thrilled about their soccer fields kind of getting trashed. I see kids take the sand castles in the infields, you know. And, you know, these properties are mixed use. I think that's just a reality. When you put people together and you have public spaces, and I think that appears to be part of the master plan.
Okay. And that wraps up our public input and participation section. I'm going to go ahead and make one more change to the agenda.
I didn't get a chance to get through the people to get to the sign up. May I have 1 minute?
Okay, we'll do 1 minute. Name and address, please.
Okay, my name is Sabrina and I live on Parrot Mountain. My children do 4-H with their horses, and my older daughter is a part of the local high school equestrian team. Our youth riders are excited to gain experience and confidence in trail riding, something that we hope that they will appreciate for the rest of their lives. The safest and closest place for our kids to do this is the east side of Crystal Riley. The east side is and was always a part of the entire park that was donated for equestrian use. The east side trails are flatter and wider, which make it safer for our equestrians and their horses. We do not understand why the mountain biking club was allowed to use the east side while horses were prohibited, especially when the mountain biking club, as we understand it, has fewer local residents than our local high school kids and equestrian clubs. We have a group of local kids who need to continue to have access to this local place to safely practice, enjoy their horses without fear of conflict and potential injury to themselves, their horses, or any of these other children that are up there. The last few months have made it clear that the park cannot be shared by these two activities. And most importantly, the intent and the instruction from Crystal Riley was that their gift should be 100% accessible to equestrians and hikers. There's no doubt in that intent. I ask that you please honor this intent and prohibit the mountain biking so none of us get hurt, and return this very special place to the equestrians and the hikers of all ages. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and move the action item committee reports, section D here. I'm going to do that one first, and that's our discussion on Bob and Crystal Riley Park, since that was the majority. Actually, it was all of our public comments. So I'm going to open that up to the board. Now, this is the time where the board discusses, and it's no longer public input session. Okay. So I'll just go ahead and start. I'll start on this side, and we'll go this way, and then everyone can kind of speak their mind and their thoughts about what we've heard.
Okay, so just to kind of set the record straight a little bit, the board packet had 418 pages in it this time, and it had all of the transactions for the Crystal Riley Park. It was not a donation, it was not a gift. It was definitely there was a lease, and then there was, with intention, there was a whole list of questions about what you guys wanted from it. There was a response from CPRD that said what could and couldn't happen, and it did not ever say that it could be exclusively for horse riding. I just want to put that out there, that there's a different history that we've been given as a board based on paperwork, okay? I understand that horse riding and biking together may not be, but in a whole lot of other places, they have multi-use trails. CPRD paid money for this park. Granted, it was a great deal for CPRD, but it also allowed for everybody to still use this park. Everybody can use it. All the horse riders can still go there every single day. So I don't know. I don't know where this idea that it's only supposed to be for horse riders is. It's 354 acres. We are a public entity, and all of the documentation I saw, and in the actual acquisition documents, not the lease, but the acquisition, it specifically says biking. It specifically says I'll find it for you if you'd like. It specifically says biking in it. So I'm not saying that I am for biking or horseback riding or anything else. I'm just sitting here right now trying to set the record straight for what we as a board have been provided beyond all the comments that we have here. And I understand there's history. I understand that Crystal Riley would have wanted the park to be a living farm history, but it came into the public's hands, and we have a responsibility to the entire public. And we need to make sure that it's safe, but we need to make sure that it isn't just exclusive. And I feel that that is our job here.
I do object to the idea that because we did pay something for the land, it wasn't a gift. Like a large portion of that was a gift. So I don't think it's fair to say that we paid for it, so therefore, because there was a gift, there was a value given with an expectation to it. And my observation on the work meeting that we did a couple weeks ago was that we highly prioritized honoring the wishes of the Saunders estate, because that's how we wanted to be viewed as a board, as someone who honors what we tell people that we're going to do with their donation. So that's my precursory thoughts on the matter.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We'll skip me and go to you.
So, we were invited as a board to go up and watch I hadn't watched the folks in the bike club before. So I've been on the trails up there and seen both horses and bikers and hikers. But when I went up and saw them, because as a board we were invited to see them, I said, well, I need to go see what's going on instead of hear what's going on. The kids were very respectful, the coaches were really respectful, so I said, I'm going to go and hike the trails and see how I'm looked upon as a hiker on the trail when these kids are doing their training. And basically, you know, they will by me, they said thank you, and so on and so forth. You know, working in the park district as long as I have, we're going to have folks that disobey the rules, and that's just the fact. Whether it be horse riders, whether it be bikers, whether it be people on electric bikes, whether it be motorcycles, ATVs, I've seen it all. And I just like to see a way that we can work together to provide those opportunities for the bikers and the equestrians and so on to work together. I've seen a lot of work together talk tonight. I would also like to see, before this board can make a decision, the master plan finalized and see what it says. Because if we're spending the money, taxpayers' money on a master plan, and all of a sudden we decide to do something else, I just don't think that's a good use of the taxpayers' money. So I'd like to see the master plan when it's finished, and then make, a decision after that. So, and it also encouraged the board to look at the final contract that we did with the trust and how it was written from what we would do, because we didn't agree with everything that the trust asked us to do, because we're a public entity and we're open to the public and we can't be constrained by certain things. So make sure you take a read of that before you make a decision. And again, I'd like to see the master plan completed and presented to us and the public so we can see where we're at. Jason.
I spent the first, I don't know, 10 years of my life riding bicycles, and I think it is a great thing. And I think kids riding their bicycles is an awesome thing, and I think they should be able to ride bicycles. I think that we should have parks in which kids can ride bicycles, and families can ride their bicycles, adults can ride their bicycles, and we can go hiking and what have you. But I'm going to just tell you this. This is not about a safety issue. This is not about, is it safe for a horse and a bicycle to be on the same path? I mean, I agree that it could be a safety issue, but the way that I see this is everything that I have read, everything that I have heard, this was really the wishes of the original property owners. They entrusted CPRD. They gave us the opportunity to buy this piece of property at an incredibly discounted price in order to honor their wish. And their wish was to make this an agricultural, a hiking, and an equestrian use park. Now, I think that we have an obligation both to the bicyclists and to the equestrians. I believe that we should have parks in which bicyclists can use their bicycles. But this particular park should be an equestrian, hiking, and farming only park. And that's what I believe. And I realize that a lot of people are going to be disappointed by that, but I'm telling you, we can do better than this. We can have more than one park. I've already talked to Dawn about a couple of different ideas of parks that we can do. So I am prepared today to make a motion. And I not only do I think we should make a motion to eliminate bicycles off this particular park, but I think that we need to also make sure that we are looking at other properties in which bicyclists can use their bikes.
Are you making a motion?
I am making a motion. So I'm making a motion that effective November 1st, bicycles are no longer going to be on Bob and Crystal Riley Park. I think we need to honor that wish, and I think Gail said it correctly. We have another park which is located in, called Sanders Park in Dundee, all right? If you are going to give somebody a giant park, okay, with the belief that they're going to develop it the way that you had intended, and you're not going to do it, why in the heck would anybody give you a piece of property? All right, that is the crux of this whole issue. It has nothing to do with safety. It doesn't have anything to do with can we get along. It has everything to do with what's right.
I second the motion. And reason being is, as a member of this board, my priority can't be any special interest group. And quite frankly, we're all in some ways part of a special interest group, whether it be equestrians, bikers, hikers, or whatnot. My priority has to be in keeping our promises, in reviewing documents going back from 2007, 2008, from the family, the foundation, and then most of all the responses from CPRD, including our initial plans for the park, what we put in writing, and what we filed with the county. We made it very clear that our intent was to keep it an agrarian, farm based park, and that is to include equestrian and hiking trails. It's eminently clear in all that information. Only recently have bikes been officially allowed, and I don't think this board actually truly set the policy. I think it occurred just in some discussions with staff and also in some discussions in the trail committee. And really the board has to make policy, and we're never going to make everyone happy. But we have to do what's right. And as some others have stated, what's right in this case, in my opinion, is honoring the intent of those who work with us, whether it be families, foundations, individuals, or municipalities. we're going to be gifted, granted, or sold at a very discounted rate land in the future, and we need to keep our promises. And that's what I believe we need to do here. And so I am in favor of the motion. I seconded it. And so now we'll have more discussion. Yeah.
So I appreciate that, and I will say that the document that you're talking about specifically has biking in there. The one that the county approved specifically says biking in it. I understand that Crystal Riley may have had a vision of what she wanted with her property. The foundation was unable to do that. So it got turned over to the park district so that they can still use it. If they sold that park, they would have no access ever again, unless they got a really friendly millionaire or bazillionaire that said anybody can use it. So it came to the park district. It came to the park district, and it becomes public property. And as public stewards, we need to make sure that we are serving more than just one interest group that you're talking about. It's 354 acres representing more than 30% of all the land that CPRD owns, and you're saying it's only for hiking and horseback riding? I feel that is, you are abdicating your responsibility as a public representative to make sure that everybody in this district has access to that park. It's a separated park right now, where with road fence. Yes, as Jim said, people will always break the rules. They always break the rules, right? But you guys are sitting here saying that this is okay to say that a third of our land can only be used by specific people. I feel that that's an abdication of your responsibility, because we are supposed to represent the entire community, not just one group.
I'll just go in order. Gail, do you have anything else to add?
The size of the gift should make us more responsible for honoring their wishes. The fact that the gift was so big does not negate that.
First of all, I don't see it as a gift, it was a sale.
It was a sale.
Yeah, we've got a great deal on that sale, but when you say gift, the taxpayers paid money for that property.
Well,
So we need to be aware of that. People need to be aware that we did pay for that property. I think when we limit it, this is all that's gonna happen here. I have a hard time with that, because I think that there may be more things down the road as a park district that may happen up there that we're not even aware of yet. So, I just think that, and when we make a motion, and the public doesn't know that we're gonna make this motion ahead of time, and I've said this before, I don't feel comfortable with that. I think that if we're gonna make a motion to do this, that the public should have notice that that's gonna take place, not just come to a meeting and make a motion. So, if I make a motion on something and bring it to the board and the public doesn't know about it, I don't feel comfortable with that. So, that's where I'm at on this. And any other motion that we make is that we should be able to let the public know ahead of time that we were gonna make a motion on a certain item.
And not only would I like to make this motion, but I would also like to make a motion that we actually revisit the original master plan that they had put together, that actually includes equestrian, farming, and hiking trails. That is what we should do. We should honor their wishes. They gave us the opportunity to buy this piece of property. Without them doing that, we wouldn't own this 300 acres. It doesn't matter that somebody wants to have bowling there, okay? The fact of the matter is, this is what their wishes were, and I think that we should honor their wishes. So, I stand by my motion. I'd like to make a motion, well, I've made the motion,
Yeah,
so.
we'll have to stick to the one motion
Yeah.
at a time. So, we do have a motion on the floor. Is there any other discussion?
The difference between the value of the land and what we actually paid is a gift.
Okay.
For everybody.
I think we've discussed, so all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Did you get those?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
What y'all voted for?
We're going to go ahead and take a 5-minute break for restroom, and we will come back right at 55 after.
What you guys did is horrible and wrong. I can't believe you would do that. As public representatives with kids here, learning to civically engage. It's not okay. Lisa, kudos to you. Just saying what's right. Unbelievable.
It's only for Rich. It's only for Rich.
I'm also aware that by
You're a good board member. I'm a board member. You're a good board member. You
Hey, it's not an exclusive group at all.
Pretty good. How are you?
No, what we need to do is what we promised.
Yeah, that was.
No, the board sets
I
policy.
don't
The
answer
board should
that.
be directing the trails committee, just like you told me the board should be directing the pickleball committee and the golf committee.
Leasing the properties for farming.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So we're going to bring this back to order. If people can take their seats.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. We're going to bring this meeting back to order. Jason.
Did you want to say something, or you're standing there with the young guy?
Kind of both. I just wanted to say that I'm a resident of Beaverton. I just live around here. I came to this meeting and I just wanted to support riding on both sides. I've been mountain biking in the community around here for about 4 years. It's the closest to me. Forest Park's about an hour, and this place is only about 40 minutes. Step Stewart's about an hour, and then Sandy Ridge is about an hour.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of tough to get around here, and I feel like there's a lack of trails in the area, and I don't want to seem like a
No, I hear you. We're gonna do what we can with staff to find a place. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Okay, we are back in order. Anyone who would like to talk, please do so outside so we can get back to our business. We have quite a bit left still here today. Approval of policy and guidelines for public comments. Does staff have anything to share on that? I know there was a document.
Right, you had asked for a little bit difference in formatting, so that reflects it. The substance is the same.
Okay. Yeah, and I looked at that, and it seemed exactly like what we had discussed.
Because it's on the agenda, I'd like to make a motion to approve policy and guidelines for public comments.
I second the motion. Okay, a motion made and seconded. Any other discussion on that item? Okay, all those in favor, vote aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay. Next, we have District Legal Services request for proposals. Staff, I'm assuming you have an update on that?
Yes. I believe we put a copy of the proposal in your packet.
It is.
And we set a date. We only received one back.
Okay.
And it was from Bridges, which is our current. So my question to you, if you don't want to accept that, you have a right. We can go out and request again, but that will have to come from the board.
The one thing I noticed about our RFP is it didn't seem like it was very heavily advertised. I don't know if we used the SDAO, the COG, any of the online message boards. It seems like it was on our website and in the newspaper, which is probably the bare minimum requirement. But I do think that it would make sense to open that up, advertise it a little more. Because I think the board wants choices, you know.
All right.
So we have options, and then we can look through terms, rates, everything else that comes with that.
We will contact SDAO, COG, and we'll advertise. Where do you want to advertise?
Well, unfortunately, I don't know all the places. I just know I talked to, if I get his name right, Scott.
Yeah.
So, he said there are different groups like them and SDAO that can help get out the word, and there's other online advertisement options, and he said they could help with that. So not being a
I'll call Scott.
Okay.
And we'll go from there,
Okay.
whatever he says.
Okay.
So we're going to extend the RFP, that's the agreement on that?
Well, is there any discussion on that, dude?
No, I'd like to extend that for sure.
Okay.
I think you need a motion in a second in order, because the last,
Yeah.
you gave them a little
Okay.
bit, he did it.
Okay.
You know,
So I will make a motion as so stated to extend and to work with COG, SDAO, and other services to assist us in getting out the word for the RFP for legal services.
Second.
Motion made in second. Any other discussion on that? Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Did you vote on that one? Or abstain?
Abstain.
So that is one abstention and one nay. Okay. Work session, and I know there were emails about this, and I think it's just a matter of us finding a date that works for all of us. This is the second work session with COG, with Scott. I'm assuming he's still planning on running the meeting. My understanding is after the last session, he was discussing with staff, what a second session would look like and how to kind of wrap up some of the ideas we had, look at some of the big picture master plans, so forth. So, Kat, do you have the tally of the dates that worked for different people? Maybe we can look at our calendars right now and get something on.
I do. So I have a couple of additional dates in the second week. I went and got those because the board had not arrived at a consensus date for this third. So why don't we look at the second week first? The new dates would be October 3rd and October 5th.
What are those days?
The 3rd is Tuesday and the 5th is Thursday. And we were looking at, again, evenings. 5:30 was the last one.
Have you received any answers from us yet?
Well, I did from Matt and Jim, and the only nights that, Jim's not available on the 19th. Matt was available on all the other nights, but not the 19th, and so.
I wasn't available on the 18th or the 19th.
Are you not waiting for me for anything?
Well, with those two, we didn't have a full board. But so if you want to go through the full dates again, we can certainly do that. So Tuesday the 3rd, Thursday the 5th, Tuesday the 17th, Wednesday the 18th, Thursday the 19th, Monday the 23rd, Tuesday the 24th, and Wednesday the 25th.
Thursday the 5th, does that work? No.
Sorry, I'm out of town all next week.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so that week is out. So let's move back to, and you said the 18th and 19th were no for you, right? 18th and 19th, no. What other days were on the week of the 18th?
17th, 18th, and 19th that week.
Okay, 17th would work actually for me. 17th work for anyone else?
Yeah, 17th works for me.
Okay.
It'll work for me.
We got 3.
17th of October, right?
Yes.
And that's also the day that.
Yeah, that works for me.
What?
Go ahead. That's the day.
That's the date that City Club will have the presenters of the Heritage Trails Campground, so you can make a big board day of it.
Oh, fun. Okay. So 17th.
I think I'm good.
Okay. I think that sounds like
This
that's
is October,
probably
right?
October 17th.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
All right, great. Consider it done. I will go back and confirm with Scott, and hopefully he still has that.
And do we have time as well?
Well, 5:30 worked
Okay.
last time, so let's go 5:30.
Okay. 5:30.
I will follow up with a confirmation on that after I hear back from Scott.
Okay. Great. We are now at amendment to agreement to provide land use assistance for Heritage Trails Campground.
You want to do it or you want me to? I gave you part of the deal, the additional, we feel that this is outside of the original agreement, and we would recommend approval.
And so,
public outreach and
okay, so this is this follows with our delay in submission.
Yes, the 6
Correct.
months, yeah.
Okay. And this is basically like you said, the public outreach, getting information, getting
planner reaching out, and
right,
making sure everyone's aware of everything that we're doing,
and this is the county sort of.
It's the formal
recommended.
thing that everyone was looking for that
Yeah.
nobody really received because it was all just meetings here and there and
Right.
not really formalized.
Okay. Does anyone have any discussion on this item? Okay, I think everyone's in agreement that staff should move forward. Do we need a formal motion on this? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion for the amendment to the agreement to provide land use assistance for the Heritage Trails Campground.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Okay, reports and comments from board members. I will start with Lisa, and then we'll just go down the line.
I probably said too much already, but I am super disappointed, especially to hear as well that you made a motion on a packet that you didn't even read, Jason.
I didn't read every page.
Okay, so
Yeah, let's try not to make things personal.
I'm not trying to make them personal. I'm very disappointed that this board has decided not to go with the public's interest. When the park became CPRD's responsibility, we have a responsibility to the taxpayers of this community, not just a specific segment of them. And the disregard for all of the comments and the work that's been done, and not to wait until a master plan has been approved that we are already paying for to get done. It just seemed like it was premature. It may have been that is what would come out at the end, but I don't think we even gave the process a full and complete review. And I know that folks in the audience have been here forever, for over a year for all of this, but there are more than the folks that are here that we represent. And I'm just really disappointed that we would make a motion and a decision so quickly without even having the work that we've contracted out to do be complete.
Anything to share, Greg? I don't have anything. Jim?
Yeah, a couple of things. I think it's important for when I came back from that SCAO training on board policy and legalities, I think it's important, again, that if we're going to make a motion, we need to look at that and make sure that we're meeting the legal obligation of this board on any motion, not just that one, but on any motion. So I think we need to talk to SDO about that. The second thing is that also, even in our correspondence together, if I contact you two folks, let's say, on an email, that's a public meeting. And so we all need to know that we cannot do that. So we need to be aware of that. So the last thing I have for the staff, basically, really quick, is at our upcoming October meeting, I'd like the staff to report to the board their plan to permanently repair or replace the AirMax system on the pool roof. The system was designed to heat and cool the aquatic center as well as save money and energy costs. To my knowledge, the system has never worked properly and for long durations, not at all. and I already know that because I was involved with part of that when I was here. Currently, we are heating the pools with a backup gas-fired boiler, which was not designed as the primary heat source for the building. Attempts have been made made by contractors in good faith and engineers in good faith, I expect, and staff for sure, to repair the problem, but we haven't come to a conclusion on that. And I know that I've talked to Casey about this before. So, prior to becoming a board member, I've been asking about this problem, and as a board member, I think we've gone long enough, and so if I could get a report on what we're going to do at the next meeting, I think we need to do that. It's been a lot of years, and either replace it, fix it, or get another consultant in to look at it, but we need to do that. So I'd just like to see that in the October meeting.
Jason.
Casey, the ponds, can you tell me how long this problem's been going on? Do you know how long it's been?
Since the aerators stopped working.
How long has that been?
They were working up to, I don't know, a couple years ago.
So are we saying that we have let this go for 2 years?
It was directed for somebody to replace those, and it hasn't worked properly. And I told him he needed to flush the lines and do some other things. Instead, he called some...
Who's he?
Scott, the superintendent. He's right here.
Mm-hmm.
He called, I don't know if he called the water guys or...
I talked to 3 different pump companies that all told me that the pumps were undersized, needed at least a 5 to 7 horse pump, get enough oxygen into the pump.
It's not algae. You
I
guys
never
keep
said
telling
it was
me
algae, it's duckweed.
Yeah, and
And
you
I
know
know
how...
a lot of it comes from the sewer water. I replaced the compressors. They're both a half-horse compressor. There's air coming out. It's not enough volume. 3 different companies that deal with pumps told me I need at least a 5 to 7 horse pump.
Well, there's
how much of a repair
actually
is that?
4 compressors in there, and they're all half horsepower.
We had a question.
How much does that cost?
It was about $5,000 back when we put it in, and it did work.
How much would it cost to replace it?
I have no idea.
So is this something that we can just assign an expert to give us some sort of a report on that?
Just like with the report back with the fence, at your next board meeting, I'll have it solved.
Yeah, okay.
It'll be done.
All right, I'd like to make a motion because I want to make sure this does get
I
done.
don't think that's, if staff says it's gonna be done.
Okay.
That's
It'll be
that's
done.
on
It'll
there.
be done.
Yeah.
The next thing is, Jim said that the roof on the community center is scheduled to be done, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, when will that be?
You'll have to ask Brian when he gets back from vacation.
Okay.
But the bids are done. Okay, so
Okay,
we're
and
we're
so
moving on that.
$102,000.
Okay. If when we do know that, if you could shoot the whole board an email, just so you know.
The lowest
we
bid
know.
came in at 102,000.
Yeah.
That's because it's going to
It's basically all the rafters and the roof, and they're gonna put metal roof on it, so it lasts longer, and it's going through engineering and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
It's expensive, but safe.
Everything's expensive these days.
Yeah.
Okay. I will. Well, I don't want to steal your thunder, Don. If you're going to discuss our meeting with the county, is that part of your report?
No.
Okay. We did have a meeting with one of our county commissioners, the county liaison, me, Casey, and Don, and we discussed some of the pending issues that we've been having. The bridge approval at Ewing Young Park, the culvert at Crabtree Park, and potential transfer of that park. We did discuss also the old landfill area, which we could use as a paddle launch, and a little bit of what we just settled on the 219 campground. And I think we kind of have action items on all those things, and I think that's very exciting. It's optimistic and it's promising. So I just wanted to share that's a kind of a promise that some of us made on this board, and we're doing it, and we're doing it with staff, and I think this is a great step forward for all of us. Okay, next, updates on projects and questions in old business. Is that, staff, do you have?
Yeah, I have a few things.
Okay.
I'm in touch with PG regarding the undergrounding of utilities out at the Sanders property, because that's one of the conditions. Recently had a survey done for all the easements, so all that description's ready and ready to go to an attorney to submit to the county. I'm meeting with the City of Dundee Council on Tuesday evening at 7 regarding the property, and to ask them see if there's a way that we can use urban renewal funds to help offset some of that project.
Is that at their regular council meeting?
That's at the regular council meeting.
Do you mind if I'm free?
I'll be there too.
Okay, great.
Because I'm on that committee with Dundee, so
We had a meeting, Dawn and I had a meeting with Steve Dahl from the city about 3 weeks ago, and we kind of talked to him about that, and that's kind of a formal request. From what I remember, I sent them a budget of what the half street improvements are, what the conditions of approval were for that half road improvements, and the areas that we would be responsible for. So they have everything. It's in their packet, whatever, and I just want to go and talk to them about that.
You know what time the meeting starts, right?
I believe it's 7.
So you're on the agenda on that then?
Yeah, it should be. Crabtree Park, I did talk to Kit Johnson yesterday.
Good.
Don't know how legal that's going to be.
Are you referring to the easement part?
The easement, and Page declaring an emergency.
Okay.
Because ODF and W has already been informed. I don't know how that's gonna go, and that's gonna be on Page. Because the county went through another council while we were doing this, so that's 2, Mr. Sadlow and Mr. Colton. He's no longer with the county.
Any legal counsels?
Yes.
Okay.
So both of them were involved with this project. Both of them were to get an easement for Page. Neither one of them got that finalized through the county, through the commissioners, or whatever, whoever it was supposed to go to. That's what's held this whole project up.
Is the holdup specifically just they don't have counsel, or it has something to do with the fish?
The county
situation?
has to recognize, they gotta accept the easement, right? As of right now, we have no legal means of access to Crabtree
Gotcha.
Park.
Okay.
And we were trying to do a favor to Page. And at one time, we were gonna do what the county was gonna do. We called the county, had them inspect the pipe. They didn't see a problem with it. Then they said, oh, it's not our road. And so I called them back. I said, is there any permits we need? The first thing out of their mouths was, you might want to think about contacting ODF and W. And so that started the whole, otherwise, probably could have legally, or not legally, but you could have just replaced the 2-foot culvert that was there. But the county didn't recognize it as being a hazard or anything else.
Yeah.
So,
And now they do?
yes, because Kit was out there and actually looked for himself, and he knows.
So
And it hasn't got any worse in 2 years.
So what's going to happen next, do you know?
I haven't contacted Paige yet. So my next phone call is to Paige. I did did ask someone with some legal experience today whether he thought that would be legal, and I got the answer no.
What, for her to give an easement?
No, for her to declare it an emergency.
So until we get the easement, our hands are tied, basically.
Well, we can't accept the park if there's no access, right?
Right. Okay. All right, well.
So it's kind of a difficult situation.
Yeah.
It's conflicting.
Yeah.
Aquatic and Fitness Center, like Jim said, there are right now there's 2 compressors, 2 more that are being replaced the end of October. Once we get that and get it balanced and we find out that it doesn't run, then we can go back after the engineers and say, look, this doesn't work. And we know it's not going to work. We know it's
Well,
not.
then why wait?
Because we can't prove it right now.
Okay. I won't argue the point.
Because that system with their modifications has never run
I know.
to this point.
I know.
When do you, I mean, at some point, isn't there some legal remedy? I mean, it's been 2 years.
It's going to be a legal remedy here soon, yeah. It's never been commissioned, so
Exactly.
they just keep spending money on it.
They're spending the money, we're not.
Well, we are, and they are. We're both spending money on something that doesn't work.
But we have to prove that it doesn't work, and then we can go to them and seek some sort of.
Jim knows the background on this. The construction manager knows the background. Don knows the background. I know a little bit. I know enough to know that they never did have the flow to the rooftop that they needed. And that's been kind of the issue since day one.
Here's what I don't understand. Here we are, 2 years later.
It's more than 2 years.
It's
Okay.
like 7 years.
2018.
So we're in this 7 years, and we've known about this for years, and we haven't gone to an attorney.
Right, because they have gone and spent money on compressors and everything else.
They've tried to do-
try
But
to
we
make it
keep,
happen.
but we keep spending money, right?
We haven't spent money for a long time.
We spent close to $50,000 initially to upsize the pumps
Yeah.
back in the day. Then we said, that's it. That's all the district is doing.
Yeah.
This is on you. And so if it goes to beyond us working with them, I mean, we've got the paperwork and the ability to say, okay,
It doesn't work.
you're gonna have to make it work. You're gonna have to make it work another way. But
Are we
I
gonna-
don't wanna go there yet.
Yeah, are we gonna be outside of,
No.
you know?
No,
Okay.
no. It's never been commissioned.
They know,
They know.
but I just want it done with.
The one thing I insisted on is that that project be commissioned.
The
Because
HVAC, yeah.
I expected this. I knew that that was important. Without that commission, would be holding the bag. It's not uncommon. Everywhere as we went, the HVAC system was the #1 big problem in every pool built across this country.
And that was my number one
Don't ever
comment
buy the first year of an
At the first meeting
automobile.
that we
That's
had,
would
I
be
said,
mine.
the most important thing that we do here is we have a good system because we've got water, humidity, heat, and everything else.
And-
The other thing that, I don't know if you realize or not, but we also received money from the Energy Trust on that project.
When it works is perfect. It does take care of the humidity and those type things. The problem is keeping it working. It does what it's supposed to when it works. So, but we'll get there.
It's the 12 o'clock and the 1 o'clock and the 2 o'clock in the morning when everything goes into alarm and shuts down, and you got to open up the pool at 5.
Yeah.
Well, you got to get everything running back.
The two major principles that's involved in this, the designer, the architect, sat in my office right there. They said, Don, we'll make this right. And I said, thank you. That was probably 2 years ago.
Did you get it in writing, Dawn?
No, I don't need writing. When they tell me something, that's good enough.
We have
for
errors and
me.
omissions on this, so
But
it's
we
like-
have it in writing regardless.
Okay. Now, Don, you had a couple items that needed to be added to
Oh.
the agenda, and I.
That's all right. What I'll do is the current committee meetings, I'll just go to the SUPS report. The current committee meetings were in violation. We have to have the committee meetings in this room. And
That's not what I read, Don. What I read was you have to have it available where somebody can call in at the very least.
right, Zoom.
You gotta
No,
have
no,
it
no, it doesn't say
accessible.
Zoom. It's only a telephone. That's all you need. So as long as somebody can call in.
Well, go ahead and finish what.
Well-
is this new information that we've received since?
It's in the board packet.
I think it would be best if all committees, district committees meet in this room because it's wired for that. It would be the best way for the board to go. So,
And this is based on our interpretation of public meeting law?
right.
Okay, Kat, go ahead.
Thank you. I attended an SDAO training yesterday in Salem, and part of that was an update, so we'll give some clarification on this. So there are some changes coming to public meeting laws. Just this week, there was some movement that went through that starting January 1st, public meetings concerns will be evaluated and regulated by the Oregon Ethics Board Commission. So we actually, SDAO has instructed that we are okay until January 1st, as we are. After January 1st, then we must provide remote access for meetings. There is a little bit of sometimes misinterpretation. There even was in the training room among participants, which they clarified regarding the bill that is still on the table, which they say will definitely change before it becomes law. But that bit about calling in is intended for board members. That's been on the books for years, and the purpose and intent of that is that you must provide a means for board members to remotely access, which can be a telephone at this point, not the public, after January 1st.
So if there's any more information you have on that, if you want to distribute that via email to the whole board.
We'll do that.
Yeah.
The establishment of a park maintenance committee, the board needs to decide if that's a good idea. What the committee would do, we probably need to set up some standards and do that. And with that, unless I hear objections, I'll go in and do that and present it to you in October.
Yeah.
And then we'll approve all that, and we'll establish that committee after the first of the year, because November, December's bad, but we can have it ready to go by January.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
All right. The other thing is the Ethics Committee sent a letter. I gave you a copy. What it basically says is that our current policy is that board members can do things, have pool passes and stuff. According to the Ethics Committee, unless the public votes for it, it's a no deal. So it's not going to happen.
So what you're saying is that no free use of the facilities by
That's
board
correct.
members. And that's what I was told also at the meeting that I attended.
That's correct.
So that's pool, golf, any pay facility.
Anything.
Okay.
So I'll pass that on for what it's worth. That's history, unless you want to go to the voters. And I've talked to some of you, and I think you don't want to do that.
No, I do not.
So,
I do
okay.
not. Does anyone on this board have any interest in referring this to the voters?
No.
No. So I think that's kind of a dead issue there. Okay.
Also, Spring Meadow Park, there's a development going on next to that park right now.
Which one's this?
Spring Meadow.
Spring Meadow.
Across from the hospital.
It's out across from the hospital. The board talked about this some time ago, and they need an easement for a road to go through there, but the road will only be used in case of emergencies. And I have the drawings, and in October, I'll bring you the document. I'm having our attorney go over the document now to make sure. In return for that easement, they were going to build sidewalks and stuff along the road to make it more easier for us. So later
Is this cutting through or reducing use of the park at all?
A little bit.
It will cut through the park, but they won't use it. There'll be a gate, and it'll only be used by emergency vehicles of fire department.
Is that going to be Grasscrete or something like that?
Yeah, they're going to construct it, and they're responsible for all that cost.
So, how did this come about?
That developer?
The developer.
Because is it the part they haven't developed yet, and so now in order to develop that, they have to have this easement?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And what they're doing, originally, they had
Single-family homes.
single-family homes in there, and they're going to apartments. And the city okayed that. So they came and said, would you guys consider this? And we discussed it at the board meeting, and there was no objections. So I told them that. They've given me the drawings and those type things, and I'll have the attorney review it and bring it back to you.
You discussed it at what board meeting?
That was a while back.
Yes,
That was a while
Years ago.
back.
Oh,
Yeah. These things
Been
take,
4 years, probably.
yeah.
okay.
Is there any land in this development that's going to be designated for parks at all, or walkways or anything like that?
Well,
They're working with Brian to restore the area so that it will basically increase the park size because it's more usable space. Used to be just a big gully and that was it. And they've kind of softened that off, and they're going to replant all the native stuff back in there.
They're going to protect that large white oak on the corner.
Yep.
We can make sure
Yeah.
that's fenced off and they
Yeah.
don't get, because that's an amazing tree right there.
Yeah. But anyway, I wanted you aware of what was coming up. So if you have no objection, I'll go ahead with our attorney and have him review the contract that they sent me. And then after that review, I'll submit it to you.
It'll be good to have
Which is
sidewalks
coming.
all the way along.
Yeah.
Sure. Folks want to come up for sure.
Well, I think that probably the city required them to do that because that's ADA.
That I wouldn't doubt. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and
it'd still be
it's-
good to have this.
Yeah.
Is there any, like, back on the question about is there any parkland in there? I mean, is there, you're taking a piece of land away for this emergency access, right?
Well, no. The park will still be.
They'll still just play on it.
Yeah, it will be just like it is now.
Okay.
The difference is they'll use this stuff. It won't be a paved type road. They got these things that they put in.
But if you're talking about the side, where are the sidewalks then?
Well, they'll have to replace the sidewalks
Yeah.
on the frontage of the road.
On the frontage of,
Yeah.
not the emergency
Right.
road, just
There
the,
won't-
okay, I'm just trying to see
Yeah.
if it impacts the usage of the park. If it doesn't, that's fine.
This is a picture of the park.
Mhm.
And the road comes in here and it'll go across there. If you know where that road is, it just goes straight into their road. And it will not be a road with gutters and stuff. It'll just be an access, emergency, so. But anyway, they'll be here in October. I told them we'd have it ready by October. And that's it.
Okay. Staff reports. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
In your packet, I believe you may have seen, I forget, 418 pages, I'm not sure.
Yep.
There was a quote from Toro, who our irrigation system went in when the golf course was built. It's approaching 20 years old. The software package is called SitePro. We have a central computer system in the back of the pro shop. Feeds into 29 satellite controllers out on the golf course. During this past summer, as Casey can attest, he came out there several times to work on circuit boards. We've lost at least 10. We currently have 3 controllers that are standalone that aren't communicating with the software package. Unfortunately, Toro still will fix it, but the last time they actually did a software upgrade was back in 2008. The quote is for a new software package, much more user-friendly, replacing all the controllers and the satellites, and making the whole system upgraded to a new link system, which is a far more friendly service to the user, and I can operate it off my phone.
Is there an optimal time to install this time of the year?
What's that?
Is there an optimal?
All winter. Well, you got till June.
Yeah.
June next year.
I talked to the rep today. The quote is good, unfortunately, until November 1st.
Do we have this in the budget already, Don?
We talked.
What's the number?
We talked about is 60,000. My question to Brian was it in the budget? And I was told that we could take it out of the operating and make it work with everything that we've got. So we will probably go ahead with it.
Do you need anything from us to do that, or is this
No,
operations?
other than
Just approval.
Don, you don't want to take that out of contingency? You're talking about operating
No,
budget.
no.
You have enough money in your operating budget to have that?
Probably there is.
if you want to make a motion that it comes out of contingency, that'll solve everything and we'll be able to move on.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that.
But we'll
think
probably
that's
go
necessary.
the other way anyway.
Okay, if you already have a mechanism for this to work, let's just go with that.
All right.
Okay. Great, so that means we're moving forward on that? Fabulous.
And there was discussion in the golf committee, what they presented, and in their notes, of bringing in someone to do some sort of an audit of the golf course. Is that like a USGA or an OGA, or is that
The Golf Course Superintendents Association will send out certified superintendents to evaluate my job, write up pages and pages of things that we can improve on.
Okay. Is it in general, I mean, are we just talking like the condition of the course? So the way the greens play, the tee boxes, the grass?
They have a 4-page
Okay.
list of, a spreadsheet of 4 pages that they go through everything.
And is it something readable and consumable by
Yeah.
folks like us who don't know grass species and all this stuff? We can read it and we understand, okay, it looks like,
I can
okay.
make those pages available.
Yeah, that would be great. Okay.
Casey, what's your thoughts on that, too?
It's always good to have other eyes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
an unbiased opinion.
And question for you, Scott, in regards to when Steve Paulson was talking about having these holes where the sprinklers need to be raised up, is that going to be fixed with this new sprinkler system?
No.
That's something separate?
Yes.
May I ask this question? If you have a sprinkler that's down this far, how the heck can you get the sprayer nozzle up high enough to water?
Because that's not true.
Okay, that's what I'm trying
They
to
can be
get to.
down like 3 inches.
Yeah.
But no more than that, or they don't work.
Are they down farther than that, Scott?
There are some that we've been raising.
Okay.
We've been working on it for
Okay.
years. It's a constant battle.
I know, I fix them every year in my house.
Exactly. It's something you do all the
It's just
time.
there's 1,500 of them out there.
Yeah.
And it takes an hour to do each one.
Okay. Is this something that we're working on slowly? Okay. All right.
Especially around the greens.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's something you're
greens
gonna
and
work on
tees.
continually because it's gonna
Exactly.
happen on a regular basis.
We'll be working on it next year,
We put,
the year after.
50,000 tons of sand on that golf course every year.
Okay. I have a question for Kellen, even though we're not up to you, Kellen.
Well, Scott, was there anything else, Scott, you wanted to share? Is that it?
Go ahead.
All right, we'll officially move to Callan and then go ahead.
Fire away.
I'd love for you to be on a golf committee. If that's something you would consider, I know the guys would love to have you on a golf committee because we'd like to have your input.
Am I allowed, well, I would be a staff member, not on the committee, is that correct?
Yeah, you'd be able to answer questions.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
If I can make the meetings, I certainly will.
Okay, super.
Yeah. I don't have a lot to report on. Our golf season's slowly winding down, as well as tournaments. We have a couple small ones left, and Newburgh Youth Baseball fundraiser, October 22nd. So it's a month away. We'll cross our fingers for good weather for them.
I have something actually from the golf course, for the golf course. So I have this food service re-inspection report from the health department. They visited the clubhouse on September 14th of this year, and we received a 100% foundation score. So we had some cockroaches a couple of weeks ago, and we took numerous steps. We replaced the carpet. We had somebody come out and clean for us. We took care kind of in-house of trying to get rid of those. And so we have contracted, or Brian Stewart has contracted with Evergreen Pest Management, and they will be coming out bi-monthly starting October 10th at 9 a.m. to make sure that everything looks good out there and to clean anything that needs to be cleaned and apply anything that needs to be applied out there. We also have a staff member that has been cleaning out there, doing some extra cleaning 1 day a week. And so I actually have, I wanted to give to each of you guys those reports just in case. You, with all that information on there. Yeah. Let's see, actually, I should have brought. So do you have any questions about the golf shop at all? If you have any suggestions, we'd be happy to
We
entertain
need to build a
them.
new one.
What's that? You need a new one?
We need to build a new one, yeah.
The other thing that I have for you, I have lots of handouts today. As you know, CPRD is, we're split into two different areas, I would say, and one is special services and one is basic services. So basic service is something that is basically paid for by property taxes. So that's maintenance of parks, that's maintenance of the golf course, anything along those lines. Buildings, and Brian Stewart's the supervisor of that department, or that area. I am in charge of special services, so that's any programming that occurs within the district. And Don, did you set that up years ago?
We set it up in
100 years ago, isn't it?
87. 87. We were way ahead of the curve. I'm talking about decades.
So the great thing about that is that, so
kid.
I live in the Greens and I am a property tax payer. And so what that does is the programs are paid, so special services basically, we charge fees. So if you have a child that is playing basic soccer, you as a taxpayer are not paying for that child to play soccer. And so I'm in charge of programming, and that includes the aquatic center, staffing and all the programming, adult sports, youth sports, the golf course, recreation, the entire recreation department, the senior center, and our before and after school care, preschool and pre-K. So those are all the departments that I work with. We have a great team. I love my team, a very strong team. And so what we did is we compiled a list of all the activities that we offer to the public. And so I wanted to show that to you, or to give that to you. You can look at it at your leisure. I also included registrations or enrollments for each of those activities, because we're always, we want you guys to know basically what we offer the community. And we also want to know if you have any suggestions on things that you would like to see. But go through that, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. So I think that's about it. Usually I'm super long-winded, but I've been told to keep it short again.
Thank you, Julie.
Okay. Well, I think staff has anything else, or is that it?
I would like to add to the special services. There are people out there that can't afford it. We do not deny anyone, any child that wants to come in. When we set it up years ago, I went to Portland, I went to Bend, I went to Salem, I went to Eugene. I looked at how they set up their scholarships. To be honest, I was appalled. They were spending more money administering than they were giving out. And I'm thinking, what a waste of money. And I came back and I told the staff, there may be times where people may take advantage, but there won't be that many. Let's just go with, if they come in and they fill out the forms, which are very simple, we just do it. So there's not much to administration. Then we have civic clubs like Rotary and other people that have given us money over the years to cover all that cost. So we are in great shape, and I want to point that out.
And I'd like to add too, we've never ever denied anybody a scholarship, and we've created relationships with the school district, and also there are a lot of people in our community that have chosen not to attend public school, and so we work very hard to create relationships with those entities as well, to put us in touch with kids that need help. And I think that's a very important piece of that. We go to the middle schools, and we'll go to a lunch period, and we will make sure that we hand out flyers, and the high school football coach comes down sometimes, or basketball coach, and we want to make sure that we are communicating with all the kids and with the administrators to let them know that these are programs that we are offering. And I think it's very, very important. And we want to be marketing that and talking about that in our community a lot. If you ever come in contact with anybody that you think would benefit from a scholarship or anything like that, please call me directly. I'd be happy to get in touch with that person.
Do you think the general public knows this?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but we can always improve on that. There's just always different ways. I was telling somebody today that people communicate differently now. We used to call people on the phone to let them know, hey, basketball is going to be, your basketball practice has changed, or blah, blah, blah. And then email was a great way to communicate with families. But these kids, or these families now that are kindergarten families and younger families, they communicate by phone, by text. So we're trying to find ways to communicate always. Very open to any suggestions on that. But I think our team does a really great job of getting out into the community and offering our services and letting everybody know that all of that is available. And it's just imperative and important that the administrators at all the institutions also know that as well. So our staff, we met with the Newburgh School District has a new communications director. And so we met with her and made sure that we were going to be sharing flyers and information with her through their, it's called E-Friday folders. And then myself and our care coordinator, we did a little presentation before, I would say, 40 of the school district administrators prior to school starting to let them know that, hey, look, these are the things that are available. Scholarships are definitely available. And just encourage them to reach out to us. Because 9 times out of 10, it's hard sometimes for those families and those kids to come forward. And we want to make sure that we are making that a positive process for those kids.
There's turnover in the school system with the principals and the teachers, so every year we have to go back. The other group is the ministerial association. We try to make them aware as well. Do we do it great? Probably not as good as we could. We're not perfect, but we try. That's the main thing.
I had a question on CARE. Is that program growing where parents are needing that help?
Yes, it really has changed, I think, just in the last 5 years. Our summer care was the biggest that we've ever had.
Jim, we're the only agency that accepts the state aid.
Yeah, it's called
ERDC. Most of them won't accept it. We do accept it, and we do everything we can to make sure that child care is available.
So how that works is when people sign up for the CARE program, they are available for ERDC payments. So for some that qualify, for those that qualify, some actually don't pay anything. I mean, they get free care, and that's been such an asset, I think, to a lot of people in the community that they need it.
I think it's important because I've been approached because some of our companies here in town are feeling a little stressed because there's really not a lot of care for their children when they are working in. So, I think that's a big problem in Newburgh right now that people are trying to solve.
Yeah.
So it's great that we have this program that we're trying to help in some way.
We have line dancing?
Yeah,
Wow.
you should check it out.
Somebody signed up for it yesterday. I saw it.
Really?
With my
And then you
my
can
own
go over and you
eyes.
can do some fencing after
Yeah.
that.
Wow.
Our senior center has really, COVID was difficult for the senior center, and so it's really neat to see all those people back. And we had bingo last Monday, and they really are offering a lot of classes. It's really neat. They go on field trips, which is wonderful, and we bought them 2 new pool tables recently. So if you'll notice in that, adult sports, I think I've mentioned this before, but adult sports, very difficult to, I guess, I wouldn't say to run, but we want to provide as much opportunity for adults as possible, but not everybody can play adult men's league basketball. I don't know if you've ever been to or participated in one of those leagues, but those guys are pretty darn competitive, a lot of road rash, so, I can play. We have, men's league, we have men's league softball, we have co-ed softball. So I really like the pickleball opportunity because it's multi-generational, but it also offers that opportunity to adults. And I definitely think that's something that we should do. I'm excited about offering that and running tournaments, and we do have youth pickleball. We have youth pickleball in the summer, and then we have 2 tournaments for them out of Jakewood. But I'm excited about that. I really want to offer that.
I have one last question.
Yes.
Where does the, I'm not sure even what they're called, dust makers, wood chuckers, I don't know what they are.
Sawdusters.
Sawdusters, that's what they are.
Woodchuckers, they back into schools.
Yeah.
Well, whatever they were.
Yes. So I asked our recreation coordinator about that today, and he would, they used to meet.
Are they, is that in here? Because I didn't see it.
It's sawdust. It's called the sawdust.
Oh, it's the sawdust.
Yeah. So we have a long history with them actually, and they were at Salem Valley Middle School in their shop area.
Right.
But with COVID, that kind of went away, and so I don't think CD really has room for them now. And I know they came to the board meeting. It was 3 months ago, and were asking us for space. They do. From my understanding, they do meet at the senior center, but that is certainly not a place to work.
They were requested to go back to the principal and talk to the principal at CB, because I talked to Larry, and Larry said they should have room. They didn't have room because the high school moved all their stuff.
Yeah, they have a lot of construction stuff on.
A lot of moving around.
Yeah.
No, it could be good to be there because they have the infrastructure for that there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Which is an important
room
thing.
and some of the equipment's already there.
Yeah. One of the guys that's in the Sawdust Club, we have the Camellia Run, and we'd love for you guys to come out and to kind of participate in that or just be there to enjoy the day. But one of the guys from the Sawdust Club creates medals for us for the winners of each age group, and the trees that were at Baby Nicholas Park, they were cut down, and then he cuts the round, or the tree basically, so that it creates a round, and then some of the sawdust, one of the guys that was in the Sawdust Club, he engraves this beautiful metal. So we put a really nice lanyard around it with a little gold, and then this big metal. It's kind of like, you guys will play, but it's like a big clock right here. But that's really neat. We really appreciate that. It's kind of a way that we all work together.
Well, I think we can adjourn and do so before 9 p.m. So.
Motion to adjourn.
You need to have the foundation
Yes.
meeting.
What's
We
that?
got the foundation meeting after we adjourn.
After we adjourn.
Foundation meeting.
Yeah.
What's that?
You have to approve the foundation.
It takes about 10
audit.
minutes. It's not
Oh,
going to take us any.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you adjourn
So
the
we
meeting.
will adjourn and then foundation meeting.
I put in there the taxes, the 22 taxes. I just need a motion to approve that, so I sign it.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2022
22 taxes.
taxes.
I'll second.
Motion made and second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous?
We'll send it off Monday.
Okay.
So now we're adjourned?
Now
you
we're
need to
adjourned.
You have to adjourn that meeting.
Okay, now we're going to
Let's just
adjourn the
second it.
foundation meeting.
There you go. Didn't take long.
So it took 1 minute instead of 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're 10 times faster.
All right, let's get this done. Thanks, Scott. See you later, Kellen.
How are you doing?
How's your girl? Kids, so wasn't good?
This is what group?
My youngest is 15.